Alrighty, chat, let's get started. Welcome to the Healthy Gamer GG stream. My name is Alok Kanoja. Just a reminder that although I'm a psychiatrist, nothing we discuss on stream today is intended to be taken as medical advice. Everything is for educational or entertainment purposes only. Echo. Oh no, it's happening. Oh no. 1 second. 1 second. The echo is real. Okay, we gotta fix this. Yeah. Oh, wait, what? So this echo is real. This is a problem. Hey, you're live streaming, okay? We're live streaming with an echo.
Yeah, can you turn off
Oh, I
the
can't hear
monitor?
you because of this. Okay, so now how do we fix this? Because for some reason my desktop has my audio.
Can you turn off the monitors that we turned on?
Yes.
Definitely fix it. So just turn
Testing?
the monitor off.
Yeah, that seems to have fixed it. No echo now,
Fix-
right? Chat?
So just
Done.
turn the monitor.
Ooh,
Okay, so GG.
well done, chat. Well done. Thanks. Okay, so let's do it. The voices have taken over. All right, so we are super excited today, chat, because we're doing a couple of really cool things. We are going to be talking to the one, the only, the Ludwig. Ludwig is an absolute Chad. And let's play a YouTube ad while we're waiting now. Super excited. So I love talking to Ludwig. I think he is just very, very creative, very insightful. So I like to hear him talk about the things, and it doesn't really matter what the things are. So we're super excited. We're going to hop into that in just a minute. Before we begin, though, I want to just let y'all know something real quick. So we actually have a sponsor for today's stream that we're actually like super excited about. It's like a good sponsor. Today's stream is being sponsored by the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. So this is a number that y'all can call 24/7 if you're in the United States and the 5 territories, and you can get emotional support 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for free. So as y'all know, we do a lot of stuff supporting people's mental health. Here at HG, we don't always, we don't provide emergency services, which sometimes people will ask for or need, or they'll, people will be like, we'll see a post on our subreddit or something like that, or someone will post on Discord, hey, I have a friend in crisis, like, I don't know what to do. And so part of what we're always on the lookout for is resources for kind of a comprehensive approach to mental health. And we're grateful about the 988 Crisis and Suicide Lifeline sponsoring today's stream. You guys can check out the pinned message in chat for more information. So we'll talk a little bit more about the Crisis Lifeline in a little bit. But I want to hop right in, so let's do that. So we're going to do this. We're going to call Lud Chad. Lud Chad, where you at, bruh? There you are. Can you count to 10 for
Hello?
me, buddy?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Beautiful.
7, 8, 9, 10.
Beautiful. Let's do this. Okay, so we got to do this. Hold on. Discord. Oop. There we go. Okay. So, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, dude. Oh my God, Market Basket t-shirt.
Yeah, you know Market Basket?
Hell yeah, dude. I love Market Basket.
I guess it's true. You went to Harvard. You're East Coast.
East Coast, but Market Basket was also like in Texas, like East Texas.
No, wrong.
Yeah, we had a.
I hate to call you out. You're wrong. It's not.
Yeah, no.
13 There's only 13 locations that spread across the East Coast.
In Market Basket.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on a second.
We can look this up. I would love to know something you don't know. That would make me very happy.
Okay.
Market Basket.
Okay,
Jamie, can you pull this up?
Okay, so what I want you to do is go to East Texas.
Okay, wait. I found it. Market Basket New England. And then you know how Wikipedia has that disambiguation thing at the
Yeah.
top? For Louisiana and Texas chains, see Market Basket Louisiana and Texas.
There we go.
Totally separate companies.
But that's the same logo.
It's similar. You are not wrong. They both decided to use red font, but they're not the same.
They're not the same?
They're not the same.
This is staggering, but they call themselves Market Basket?
Yeah, they're both Market Basket.
Wow.
But the Texan one was founded in 1962, and the New Hampshire started one was 1917.
Wow. That's fascinating. I didn't realize it was a different Market Basket.
God, I can teach you these things if we talk more.
So I was thinking about this actually recently. So I'm very curious about your ability to learn new things. And so a lot of people, when they like try to learn new things, they lack confidence in learning the new things. So
Been there.
yeah, I'm curious because it doesn't seem that way. Because like a big part of what you do is like do new stuff. Like that's part of what you do. Like that's what I enjoy watching you because it's not going to be the same game every single day. It's going to be something new, something interesting, something innovative. But the other interesting thing is you appear to not suck at all of those things. So what I'm appear to.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm not saying that you don't suck. You may
Sure.
suck.
Sure.
So I'm super curious about your journey. We can talk about whatever you want to, but I was personally curious about your journey of being comfortable with things that you suck at.
Okay, you know who enlightened me on this subject?
Who?
A one Gotham Chess.
Okay.
You know Levy?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know him, but I'm familiar with Gotham Chess. I really like his content.
Before he was a very successful, I'll turn myself down a bit. Before he was a very successful chess teacher, or excuse me, before he's a very successful YouTuber, he was a successful chess teacher. And one of the things that he's told us is like, hey, when you teach a child how to play chess, they're so much like better as learners because they don't get embarrassed about what they are learning. They just learn the thing. And if they mess up, they don't care. They'll just like throw ideas out. But then when an adult attempts to learn chess, they get real like shameful. And they're like, I don't know if this is like a stupid idea, but I feel like maybe you should go D4 here. And they're like, they don't want to fail. And so I think they throw out less ideas. I do this. I'll give you an example.
Which one?
This shameful thing.
Okay. You feel shameful?
Sometimes like, okay,
Yeah.
I do Japanese lessons.
Okay.
Because I'm doing a motorcycle trip across Japan with Michael Reeves. And I want to like know Japanese because I'm going to be in middle of nowhere Japan with Michael Reeves, and he doesn't know Japanese that well. I don't know Japanese. And so these Japanese lessons, they've been going great. But recently, like I haven't been keeping up as much. So my vocab's like a little shoddy. So I have OpenAI ChatGPT on the side. And if there's a word that I have to translate, like a vocab word, and I should know it because he taught it to me before, I type it in.
Is that some way of learning though?
I think so. But I think ultimately, like, there's a teacher right there who I could just be like, hey, wait, how do you say hot again? And he'd be like, Atsui. But instead, I'm throwing that shit in ChatGPT, and ChatGPT tells me.
And how do you say cold?
Buddy, that's above my pay grade. That is above my pay grade. I could not even... Wait, actually, I can tell you.
Samui, I think.
It is...
Is it Samui? Did we get this right?
Yes, Samui is, if I remember correctly, it is Samui.
Yes. Did you ask ChatGPT?
Right then? No, I couldn't get there fast enough, so I read chat.
Nice. That's super cool, dude. But has something changed in terms of your shamefulness? Like, do you feel, because like you seem like really good at trying new stuff. So I'm curious. So you said Gotham Chess taught you this, but like, so that principle is one thing, but then how do you, have you applied it differently now?
I mean, I think I attempt to do that, right? Like, but it's like a constant battle because I can feel the desire to, like, not want to admit I don't know a bunch of shit and not want to like start from ground zero and not want to be a dumb adult, but like I am a dumb adult. So like I feel like it's like I fully know the lesson, but applying it is a little harder. So I'm trying to apply it in most cases. And like even this ChatGPT example, I did it in one lesson and then I went on stream and I said I did it. And then I let everyone make fun of me. And now I probably won't do it next lesson. I'll just talk to my teacher.
Do you do that a lot where you own up to or publicly acknowledge things that you find internally shameful?
Maybe not necessarily like internally shameful, but like things in general. Oh, hello, gamer. I'm in call right now. Yeah, I think so.
So,
I think owning up makes it feel better.
So, and was that? Have you always been able to do that?
I didn't used to know. No, I think my mom convinced me it was a better idea than the alternative, which is like not owning up to it.
And how did that convincing go? What convinced you?
So I guess like, okay, here's the example. It was I was late to art class in, I want to say like high school, and I just like, it was after lunch. I was dicking around the locker rooms, and then I got late, and then the teacher was like, "Hey, you have to have your parents sign that you were late to art class." And then like I kind of blanked on it. Whatever. I forged my mother's signature.
Nice.
Apparently, not as good as I thought. I wasn't, I wasn't Leonardo DiCaprio in Catch Me If You Can. But what ended up happening is they found out. Like I sent it to the school, and then they like, I guess had a version of my mom's signature, and they went side by side, and they were like, okay. And then they called my mom in, and then they called me into the principal's office while I was at school. I didn't know my mom was there, and then they like made me own up. Anyway, the whole entire thing sucked. Ended up getting like a Saturday detention for a few hours. But after that, my mom was like, hey, if you just tell me, like, I will be more understanding than like these random people and strangers. And so you should just like, even if you forged it, just be like, hey, I'm forging your signature. And then like, at least I know. And I was like, okay, I can do that. Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, that's cool. So it sounds like she really had your back. And yeah, I always thought that the best way to bypass that scenario is to always forge your parent's signature from day one, right? So that there's consistency.
Yeah, and you get better at it.
Yeah, and then there's nothing to compare to because you're always forging their signature.
Well, I did continue to do it. I would just tell my mom after.
Yeah, that's
and I got better. I did like a practice session
with her.
Yeah. I was like, okay, the P's. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's super cool. Yeah, because I think it's interesting because multiple people have told me that they appreciate your confidence, and so I was like,
multiply told you about my confidence?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so I was kind of curious because like now I'm talking to you and I'm like, okay, where does Ludwig's confidence come from? And I was curious what you had to say about that, but because I think we can all learn something. Not to put you on the spot. If you have nothing else to say, that's okay. We can just talk about whatever.
No, we talked about this last time, I think.
Did
where
we?
My confidence comes from. I believe, I think a lot of my confidence comes from like my internal belief that like everything will work out. So it's like you can kind of do everything blindly, confidently. And it's better to do things maybe confidently in wrong, because even if you do a wrong decision, it'll work out.
And do you have a sense of, we may have talked about this, I may just have forgotten, where that sense that things will work out, like where do you get that? Have you always had that?
Well, because like they have to, because like it just always does, because like the world keeps spinning, like what does not work out really mean? And it's like, okay, well, it wasn't an ideal situation to be in. It was like potentially devastating financially, emotionally, mentally, whatever. But like, sun's going to go down, sun's going to come up. You have to live the next day and 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 the next year. So like, I think eventually the results will work out. And that's, I just believe that.
Okay.
Which is why I'm cool with like, the whole, like my job going to shit and then me like leaving and everything failing, because like, you know, I'll figure something else out and that'll be fine, and I can just enjoy that.
What do you mean your job going to shit and you leaving and you failing? Is that before you became a content creator? Are we talking about? Did I miss something?
No, that's now. But that's why I feel.
Did something happen
In my job?
Yeah.
No, but like I will go to shit
Okay.
one day. I'm not gonna be here at 52 probably, entertaining 18 and 24-year-olds. I don't think so. And I don't think 50-year-olds are gonna be watching YouTube live streams. I'm assuming.
Yeah. Okay. So you're just assuming that things are going to fall apart at some point. And but it also sounds like falling apart doesn't really sound like falling apart. Like things will end, but there's like a connotation with falling apart that you don't really lean into too much.
Yeah. I mean, like I don't know how it'll end. It could end very gracefully and beautifully. It could also be my 1 terabyte hard drive of me saying slurs that gets leaked. Whatever it is, less gracefully. But I think either results, it would work out.
And what do you mean by workout? What is
like
your definition of workout?
Regroup myself and deal with the new surrounding situation. What's that shit called? That treadmill? Something about a treadmill.
Hedonistic treadmill?
Is that the one?
That's one of the treadmills.
Is that a treadmill where you can adapt to where your life currently is?
No, that's a completely different treadmill.
What treadmill is that
hedonistic treadmill? I don't know which treadmill you're talking about. But the hedonistic treadmill is like when you engage in a dopaminergic activity, the joy that you get is temporary. And you basically have to keep climbing, right? So like one cookie will not like make me happy for the rest of my life. I need to eat another cookie and another cookie and another cookie.
Does it work in reverse?
What first define what you mean by reverse. And now
Let's
things
say
get fun. So I love talking to you, man.
Let's say okay, so you're saying when you get a huge dopamine rush, you catch up to it. What if you have a huge dopamine fall? Like you had a big breakup or lost your job or something?
What do you think?
I think, yeah.
How so?
I don't know how it works in the treadmill analogy, but I feel like, you maybe like eat shit, fall on your face because it goes slow so fast, but then you'd have to get back up on the treadmill and start walking again.
Yeah, so I think generally speaking, this is what's really crazy, is that I think the opposite is also true. So if you look at it I'm agreeing with what you said, yes. So if you look at it historically, basically just about every religious tradition, maybe like Shinto doesn't apply, but most of these like religious or spiritual traditions will have asceticism or deprivation of positive things as part,
Aestheticism, like aesthetics?
Nope. Asceticism. Ascetism. Asceticism. SISM. So that is like an ascetic is like a monk, like someone who doesn't engage in worldly pleasures. So they'll
eunuch.
A eunuch is different, but and actually eunuchs will sometimes engage in. There's actually a really interesting correlation between becoming a eunuch and engaging in more sensory pleasures. So we're not quite sure about this, but maybe when you lose your gonads, your sensitivity. So first of all, you're like more likely to get more obese. And then if you look at like fat cells are not just storage. They're actually like hormonally active and can do things like insulin resistance and cravings. And so historically, there are a lot of accounts of eunuchs being like very like hedonistic, but they just
like when a blind person hears better. Someone with no balls starts feeling better.
I wouldn't quite say that the mechanisms are the same, but the analogy is a very good one. So so it's like that obesity makes you more sensitive to food. And so eunuchs will sometimes just like become really, really obese.
Okay.
But anyway, it's fascinating. But going back to what you were saying earlier, so like, yeah, I mean, I think that if you look at it, the basic problem is that anytime we engage in a dopaminergic activity, we develop tolerance to it. This is why, like, the first hour that you play a video game is more fun than like the fourth hour that you play. So the interesting thing is that there's something weird with our brain where if we like work a full day and then we play video games for 2 hours, that is more fun than playing video games for like 8 hours. So depriving yourself of something and then engaging in it, or limiting your exposure to something, then enhances the thing later. So this is where a lot of people get tripped up, because we have a society that tries to like give us a lot of instant gratification. And the more instant gratification we get, the less we enjoy it. And if you want to enjoy things, a limited amount of deprivation is actually like really, really good.
Can I offer a counter?
Yeah.
A lot of people are bringing up that this is similar to gooning.
What is gooning?
God, I'm going to teach you
Just
so
like
much today.
Goonies?
I'm going to teach you so much wisdom. It
Dude,
is kind of
so
like
much- lay it on me, brother.
Goonies in a way. So like gooning, do you know about the allegory of the cave?
No.
Like the shadows and all that?
No.
Mm.
More
So
wisdom.
basically, gooning is like, it's like you have a goon cave and you're watching some, you know what edging is?
Yes.
It's like that. It's like that.
What do you? I
You're
don't
like a
understand.
little.
Okay, so
you're a little-
here's the statements that I heard.
Uh-huh.
Do you know what gooning is? Do you know
Yeah.
the allegory of the cave? Do you know edging? And between cave and edging, there was shadows. So like these are the 4 words that have been assembled.
The only reason I brought up the allegory of the cave is because you can oftentimes have a goon cave. It's the only relation to the allegory of the cave. It has nothing else to do with that story. But so I pivoted away from it. But yeah, gooning is a very popular word right now, but it is ultimately edging. But there's like goon communities online, and people talk about what they goon to and how long they've been gooning.
When you say goon to, is gooning the same thing as edging?
I think it's more communal than edging, because edging, I think ultimately you still bust a load, just a huge giant fat one. And then gooning, I think, is more like you just be gooning for a long time, right? You're just gooning.
What does that mean?
You just stay gooning, man. You just stay gooning.
But when you say stay gooning, I still don't understand what the verb gooning means.
Like you stay edging.
Okay, so so this involves
No release.
sexual stimulation without any
Yes.
kind of.
Yes. Stay gooning, never bust.
So how is that a counter argument to what we're saying?
What were we talking about right before it?
We were talking about how
You're talking about
depriving yourself-
withholding. Yeah.
depriving yourself of some pleasure before engaging in the pleasure.
Right.
Right, like eating. Let's say like we eat healthy all week, and then we have like
Yeah.
pizza on the weekend. That pizza will be more satisfying than if you eat pizza every day.
I imagine a goons maxer would probably really enjoy like a sexual relationship with another person.
Yeah. So how is that a counter argument?
Oh, did I say counter argument?
Yeah.
I meant like plus argument.
Plus, okay. I was like, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I think if people are, and there's a lot of stuff with like celibacy or brahmacharya and all that good stuff. Like there's a lot of stuff around sexual pleasure. Yeah. Go ahead.
I remember my counter argument.
Okay.
Elden Ring.
Okay.
That is not a game that I think would be fun to limit yourself to like a couple hours a week or a day. Or maybe a day, maybe. But you kind of need to dive into the universe. You know what I mean?
Well said. So I think it's a good counter argument, but I think Elden Ring is actually a really good argument for the argument too, because I think Elden Ring is very good at denial of reward.
So Elden Ring itself does the job.
Yes.
You're
Right?
actually so right. Yeah. Because
Yeah.
you die. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it does take it. Oh my God.
Yeah. And I think Elden Ring, that's what makes a truly like great game is that it is immersive, right? So you lose yourself in it. But the other thing to kind of think about is like, let's talk about playing Elden Ring. Like, so if we waited a few years for Elden Ring, and that's what made it so great. So
Right.
if we had Elden Rings every single day, they would stop being fun.
Yeah. I mean, there's a video series about that. I forget who does it. I think Iron Pineapple, but he plays like so many of those games, like Soulsborne knockoff
Yeah.
games. I think they definitely look like they're getting not fun if you keep just trucking through them.
So I think it's, but I'm all for immersion. I think immersion has a different quality. Like to get lost in something is very engrossing. whether it's like
What's the last thing you got lost in?
Let me think. What is the last thing I got lost in? So I really liked season 1 of Tokyo Vice.
Oh wow, I read that book, the Jake Adelstein book about the journalist.
So I watched the show. So
no, I heard it's a great show too.
Yeah. So someone told me it was a great show, and that was because I was withdrawing from Shogun, which is also a great show.
Yeah.
And was my favorite book for many years. Which also was something that I got lost in the first time I read it, the second time I read it, and the third time I read it. So I think those are the two most recent things. I also picked up Dota again recently, so it's easy to get kind of lost in that.
Do you feel good about that decision?
Mixed feelings. So generally speaking, I allow myself like a serious amount of Dota once every 3 to 4 years is what it comes down to. I probably play for about 20 to 50 hours a year. And then once the gooning gets too much,
right,
then every 3 to 4 years, I'll like play like 100 hours of Dota.
Okay. I see. So this is in your Dota on phase, and you will eventually, tire yourself out from it.
Yeah, or I'll just what really I don't tire myself out from it. What I realize, so I'm actually doing this internally right now. I will stop playing Dota, or instead of playing Dota, I will write a chapter of my next book. And I am actually doing
You'll do work.
I wouldn't even call it work. So I know it's weird. So what I'm actually doing is I'm measuring internally what the cost of 1 hour of video games is.
Is that healthy to do? Because I think a lot of people do this.
Is what healthy to do?
To measure the cost of something when you could be more productive with that time. Like, if I play a game of Valorant, it's about 45 minutes. I could be more productive with that time, both career-wise, but maybe like relationship-wise.
So I think the attitude with which you do it is very important. So a lot of people will beat themselves up for wasting time.
If I play like 3 games of Valorant and I D rank in those games, I will wish the sweet release. I don't want to be around anymore because I'm so sad that I wasted those 2.5 hours playing that dumb shit game instead of hanging out with my beautiful girlfriend or doing work.
Yeah, so I think that's a very shame-inducing cycle. That's why we keep doing it, right? So if you look at video games, what happens is they punish us, and then in order to deal with that negative emotion, we have to go back to the game because it suppresses our negative emotional circuitry. So I do something slightly different, which is that I ask myself on this given day, would I rather, like, if I don't play for this hour, I'm not depriving myself or playing for 4 hours or anything like that. There's no beating myself up at the end. It's just like, on this day, do I want to start playing this Dota game right this second? Or can I wait 1 hour and then start playing? And I'm just going to do that. And I'm literally trying to measure how many hours of Dota do I have to give up to write a book? And the crazy thing is, I think you don't have to give up many hours. Like, I think if you give up 10% of the hours, like, it's crazy how much time that is. Like, it's crazy how much you can accomplish in a very small volume of time. So we're not even talking about quitting gaming or cutting back by 50%. We're talking like 2 or 3 hours a week.
Well, okay. Do you ever play MMOs?
I used to.
What'd you play?
I played I played WoW. When I say a little bit of WoW, that's in relation to other people. So I had like 1 or 2 level 60 characters. I did maybe 2 or 3 raids, like endgame raids. I did some like Molten Core, some Blackwing Lair, and then like one of the raids and one of the expansions.
I feel like it's a good amount of time in.
Yeah. So a couple hundred hours.
I played RuneScape.
Uh-huh.
Probably similar time investment. And one day I was like, dude, like, I'm dog shit at soccer. I'm not on the starting roster. My grades aren't good. And everything I'm grinding out in this RuneScape game, I could just grind out in real life. And ultimately, these RuneScape stats, even if I get a skill cape, will not, further the stats that I can get in real life. And I stopped playing, and I never played an MMO ever again.
That's what ultimately, like, so when I have my Dota binges, at some point, so here's the cycle of my like game getting lost in the gaming. It's like, let's play something, and then it's kind of fun, and then you lose. And then you're like, I'm fucking tired of losing. Like, I can actually get better at this, and I can win. And then what starts happening is I start developing like deliberate practice to get better. And then I'll start getting better, and it's rewarding. And then one day I'll wake up and I'll like think to myself, well, hold on a second. If I'm going to spend like deliberate practice and focus on getting better at something, do I really want to spend like 200 hours improving at Dota? Or would I rather, and this is the thing, I mean, I write about 600 words an hour. The average nonfiction book is about 80,000 words.
That's so many words an hour. 600 words an hour?
Yeah.
That's 10 words a minute. That's a lot of words. I have a 200-word essay due tomorrow. I'm stressed.
200-word essays are very hard.
I'm saying.
I think Mark Twain or one of these other people said, if I had you, I'm sorry for writing you such a long letter. If I had the time, it would be shorter or something like that. Writing in a small amount of time is harder. Vomiting onto a page, like rants on the internet, like that's easy to do.
Do you find your books to be vomits on the page?
No, but they also have to, books, I've written one. Arguably two. One of them has never seen the light of day.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Because it's bad.
Okay.
So I wrote a book about video game addiction before I started streaming. And I tried to get it published. And what I realized is like people think like, oh, it's like a waste of time if you write a book and don't get it published. I think one of the best things you can do in life is write a book and never get it published. Because what I realized,
So the act of writing?
Oh, yeah. So what I realized is part of the reason like we grew so fast on Twitch is because all of my thoughts had been worked through. So now when I open my mouth, it sounds like I'm super competent. But the reason I'm super competent is because my brain has thought through this stuff and I've already put it on paper.
I have two big questions for you.
Yeah.
Question one goes back to the previous thing. If you are correct, and I am correct, that we could accomplish these IRL skills if we didn't play video games, should we just not play video games? Or cut back drastically?
Should is a dangerous word. I would say, what do you want?
I want it all.
What is all?
I want to succeed in every aspect where I'm hoping to succeed in, which is with my job, with my relationship, with being a good son, with like I want to dunk a basketball.
Why? Why do you want success?
Why do I want to dunk a basketball?
Why do you want success?
I just want the best shot at success. I don't care if I make it or not.
That's different from what you just said.
Well, I feel like, are you talking about like in career or relationship or what?
Well, what are you talking about? You said, should we do something? And I asked, what do you want? And then you said, I want success in every dimension of my life. And then I asked about success again, and you're like, actually, I don't need success. I just want the best shot at success. And I think we're getting somewhere.
I want to like do my best job. Like I don't want to be the problem.
Okay. So you want to do your best job. That's different from success. It's in fact, it's the exact opposite of success.
But it correlates to success.
It does correlate with success, but it is not the same thing.
Okay.
Right? So, I'm trying to think of a non-terrible analogy there. There are a lot of things that are very tightly correlated that are the opposite. Like vaginal intercourse. Vaginal intercourse involves a penis and a vagina, but there's pregnancy involved, but pregnancy and penises are two different things. Even though they're tightly correlated. That's the analogy that see, this is the difference between not writing a book and opening your mouth and writing a book and opening your mouth. So penises and pregnancy are very tightly correlated. This is what I wanted to say. Very tightly correlated, but are not the same thing.
They warned me when I came onto the show that he would do this. Huh? They warned me he would bring up sex. They said, don't go on Dr. K's show. He'll bring up vaginas. He'll bring up penises. They warned me, man.
Well, if you want me to bring up penises, we can bring up penises. Because down in Market Basket, down in Texas, not your New England. In New England Market Basket, y'all have whatever y'all have, but down in Texas, we've got penises.
That's right. The woke took those penises. We got no penises.
Okay. But going back to your actual so I think this is important to understand, right? So should we quit playing video games? Well, like that depends. I don't think it's about what should happen because should is someone else's value system. Trying to live your life based on like what you should be doing because should doesn't come from you.
Doesn't it? Doesn't it come from like the preppy, like, you know, brown nosing part of me, like the goody two shoes part of me?
Yeah, but what how does the goody two shoes part of you know what to do?
He's done his research, I guess. He's like asked around.
Exactly, right? So that's ultimately coming from somewhere outside of you.
Right.
So that's very different from what you want.
But like the seedier part of me that's like, let me sit in a dungeon and play Valorant until I hit diamond, also got that from other people. Because like, where do you figure out what the hell Valorant's from? He didn't come up with that on his own. That's
a good point. Right, so arguably that comes from outside of you too, and I wouldn't disagree with that. I think that is actually true. I think on a more practical level, like that's at a deeper layer of understanding that all desires come from the outside, which I would agree with. So if you look at it, like most of the desires that you have, or all, will come from your sensory organs. And your sensory organs, like if I smell a hot dog cooking, then it's like, oh, I want a hot dog. We have like advertisements, right? And then we want to play those things. So how do advertisements enter us via our sensory organs? I would still say that there are subtle differences that are pretty important though between like shoulds and wants. So I think you can have an external world and you can want the external world to like you. And then you will do the things that you should do. But there's still a difference between doing what you should do and the want of having people like you. Does that kind of make sense? They're like very connected. And so I think the big problem though is that a lot of times what we want and what we should do conflict, like playing video games versus something else. And so I don't think that we should quit playing video games. I don't think that that's effective because I think generally speaking, when you try to live a life of what you should do, two things happen. The first thing that happens is that, generally speaking, when you gratify shoulds, you don't feel good. And the second thing is when you don't gratify shoulds, you feel guilty.
That's
you
true.
Beat yourself up.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a lose-lose situation. Like I've worked with people who have literally lived their whole lives doing what they should do. I used to be one of them. Yeah, absolutely. I'll go be doctor. Like when my dad was like, when I was 9 years old, my dad was like, one of y'all is going to be a doctor and one of y'all is going to be a lawyer. My grandmother, ever since I was, can remember, she was like, you're going to be a great doctor one day. You're going to be a great doctor one day. And then like, it just doesn't, even if you succeed, you're going to be burnt out because there's no like internal satisfaction. There's just making other people happy.
You didn't like feel really happy when you became doc? I don't know how it works, but like they gave the doctor laurel on you?
I did not feel very happy when I graduated from medical school. No. It's kind of surprising, but yeah, that's not how I felt. I felt really happy the day that I got in. That was
medical
really
school?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the difference?
So, I mean, I had applied to med school for like 3 years in a row and like not gotten in. So I'd just gotten rejection after rejection after rejection after rejection. Yeah.
You were deprived.
I was deprived. Absolutely. But
and
I was
no
not
deprivation
deprived.
when you're on the course. There's just work.
Yep. And then when I graduated, you know, like I mean, there was no question that I was going to graduate. Like I knew I was going to graduate because I hadn't failed anything. And then, you know, there's this thing called match day, which is like a big day when you find out where you're going to do your residency. So
Yep.
residency is really when you learn how to practice medicine. Med school is about exposure to different concepts, and then you really learn doctoring in residency.
I watched Grey's Anatomy.
Okay. So, the day that for a lot of people, it's like it determines their fate. It's like, where are you going to end up? Are you going to become a surgeon or are you not going to become a surgeon? And for me, it was pretty, it was good. Like a lot of people thought I would be very, very, very happy, and I was grateful. I felt gratitude more than anything else. But I matched it a program that a lot of people are very, very, very like happy and tears and things like that. But for me, it was just I wanted to do some work at life, and thankfully, like I ended up at a place that they appreciated that and wanted to support the work that I was doing and wanted to help me grow. That's what was important to me.
I have another question.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we should pause.
Yes. Let me get some water. And then I also have to do a quick like sponsorship thing. So can you hang tight for a second? Yes.
Do they have like a theme song?
I don't know if they have a theme song, but I'm going to do this real quick and grab some water. Thank you so much for reminding me. We're going to do this. Okay. So today's stream, y'all, is sponsored by 988, which is a crisis helpline. So we're huge fans of 988 for a couple of reasons. Here at HG, we have a lot of stuff that we try to help y'all with in terms of your mental health. But one of the things that we really can't do is help y'all through a crisis. And the cool thing is that the United States government has created this crisis helpline that anyone can use 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You have to be in the United States or the surrounding territories. That's where it's available. But it's a national network that will connect you with a counselor who you can just talk to about anything that's kind of going on in your life. They can help you through any kind of crisis. And it's confidential support for anyone who's in distress. So you can call, text, chat at any time. And what we're really excited about is that this is a service that's available to people, if you're struggling in some way with anxiety, whatever, like it kind of doesn't matter. Any kind of crisis that you've got that is mental health related is something that they can help you with. So we're big fans of helping people with their mental health. And if y'all need help, definitely reach out to them. Yeah. So a couple of other things, I kind of think about this as like an IRL support. So like we talk about like in games, right? You've got like support classes and non-support classes and things like that. We try to support y'all through some stuff, but there's like IRL support available as well. So definitely check that out. Anyway, we're going to hop back in with Ludwig. So, okay. Oh, one thing that I also want to mention before we hop back in is, so all of their crisis help workers are trained. So you'll get connected to a trained crisis help worker or a counselor who can help you if you're feeling overwhelmed, anxious, or just need someone to talk to. So thanks a lot to 988 for sponsoring the stream. Okay, sorry about that.
It's all right.
It really is like something that I'm a big fan of. So we're super careful about this stuff, but I think it's like it's cool that there's a whole separate line which is not 911, that is like devoted to helping people who are in crisis.
In Europe, they call like 4.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, they don't got 911. They got random ass numbers.
And 911 is not random ass numbers?
No. Good question. It's not.
I mean, maybe it's not. I don't know. Maybe there's some reason behind it.
Did you forget to get water?
I did forget. I didn't get water, but maybe I can get some water.
Get some water, dude. Just get it shipped in? You got it like that?
We'll see if I can. Okay, I'll just go get it myself. 1 second. I'm going to get some incense too. Okay. And then we've got more questions.
Okay, sure.
Oh, there we go.
Look at that.
Shipped in. Thank you so much.
Look at that. Was that a bait?
Was what a bait?
I'll get the water myself.
No, I think it's just...
Someone hears that?
I just got lucky. So, I mean, I think we can... I have more to say about the should and the want stuff, but if you have another question, I think let's go there.
Is it wise?
Is what wise?
What you have to say.
I think so.
Then let's hear it.
Okay, so let's like take a step back. So should we want to stop? Should we stop playing video games? I don't think so. I think what's far more effective, right? So if we live a life of shoulds, it's like very like it leads to burnout. I've seen people just get burnt out because you're like living to like live up to some ideal that you've got. And it's interesting because when we actually dig into your answers, there are 2 layers to your answers. One of them is, yeah, I should do all this stuff. I want to be successful. But then the further we dig in, I think we really detect your compass, which is like the success itself is not that important. It's like that I strive to be successful. And I agree that the 2 are correlated, but as your chat correctly predicted, penises and pregnancies, while correlated, are not the same. Different, right? So in fact, very, very different. So I think the same is true. So when we get caught up in success, I think that we do get a performance hit, actually. We don't perform our best. So if you look at studies of people in the flow state, people in the flow state are not concerned with success. They're fully devoted to the task at hand.
During the flow state's a very temporary thing, right?
For many people, yes.
Are people unlocking flow state for like days?
Yes.
I was always under the impression it was like you have like a tournament or like a match. You know, it's oftentimes in sports where you enter the flow state, or like maybe you're writing or something, and then you're going crazy, but then like, you know, it goes away when you sleep or something, like it resets.
Yeah. So, but let's like think about that for a second, right? So if it unlocks in one way, there must be some kind of biological mechanism that unlocks the flow state. And so then the question is, what do we have to do to unlock it? And can you just consistently do that?
Can you unlock flow state?
Yeah.
Do you do that when you're writing?
When I'm lucky.
What do you want to flow state?
What do you mean, what do I want to flow state?
I mean, like, you're not going to flow state, like, going to the bathroom. Like, you're saying you can unlock it biologically at certain places.
Oh, flow state in the bathroom is awesome.
What are you doing, peeing more efficiently? Like, you're just on the side of the bowl so it doesn't splash at all?
You were just one, like, so here's the thing. Like, if you really pay attention, using the bathroom is one of the most pleasurable experiences you can have. Right? So, like, and I'm serious. So, like, you know, when you're once again going to deprivation, when you're on along, you're going to be taking a motorcycle ride through Japan, you're really going to need to pee.
Yeah.
And then, like, eventually you'll stop and you'll pee, and it'll be like this heavenly experience.
Look, I've had a few pees that do send shivers down my spine.
Right? So it's interesting because we think about something so mundane as urination. But if you really pay attention, even urination can be, you can feel ecstasy in urination.
I mean, look, that's not wrong. I never thought of it through flow state. I enjoy going to the bathroom because I have a bidet and it's warm water and it feels nice. But
so I think you're getting closer to flow. So flow has a couple of characteristics.
Okay.
So let's first understand what flow is. So you've had flow when you're playing video games?
Yeah. Sometimes I click heads and it feels, and I'm just clicking heads.
Okay. So when I don't know what that means. Once again, I don't know if that's your...
Like in Valorant, like if I'm playing an
heads.
opposing team 5 versus 5, I click their head with my cursor and then they explode. I'm
sure that there's a gooning joke somewhere in there, but...
None.
So if you kind of think about that, well, like what is your mind doing during those moments?
I think it's just like 100% in the thing that I'm doing, which is like what I'm supposed to do in the game, whatever the situation is.
So are you thinking about the future, thinking about the past? No. Right? Do you have a sense of ego? Are you thinking about yourself, how you'll be perceived, whether you're a good person, whether you're a bad person?
No.
So these are the 2 things. If you look at your life, most of the problem in our life is that one of these 3 things is present. We're thinking about the future, we're thinking about the past, or we're thinking about ourselves in some way. So these 3...
I remember a time I reached flow state.
Okay.
I was doing a Moto GP, I think it's what it's called, like Supermoto.
Okay.
It was like a training school, and you're on a motorcycle and you go as fast as possible around a course, and they tape up your mirrors and all this, and you take these bends really fast. You're going like 100 miles an hour. It's scary. So basically, like after learning how to do it, like day 2 of doing it, there was like a few runs where I'm just like doing what I'm supposed to do. It felt great.
Hold on a second, because that's beautiful, right? So you said after a few days. What was happening in your mind for the first couple of days?
You know, comparisons to how I'm doing versus how other people are doing.
That's ego.
Or, you know, fear of like, what if I fall? Like, can I actually commit to this?
Okay,
Like,
hold on a
do I
second.
actually
So what if I fall? So is your mind in the past, present, or future in that moment?
future?
100%.
You know, I think those are the main two.
Yeah. So I think that's like spot on, right? So when we remove those two elements of mental functioning, we move closer to flow. So the third dimension of flow that we haven't really, so one is you have to be in the present. You can't be focused on the future or the past. Second thing is that ego can't be present. So there's even this experience of like losing yourself in the thing. Okay. And I still remember, like, I was working with a particular esports professional who it's kind of a sad story, but they were ahead in a particular tournament, and then they'd not won a tournament at that point in their career. And so it was really interesting. They were playing really well because we had worked really hard on, like, don't think about winning, just play the game. And then, like, this tipping point happened where, like, they realized, like, oh shit, like, I'm about to win my first tournament. And then they started throwing.
This happens all the time in Smash.
Say more?
Well, in Smash, there's like people who won tournaments, and there's not that many people who've won major tournaments. And when somebody is like up on them, you know, like in a best of 5, they're up 2 games, and they should close it out. They start to think like, oh my God, what if I beat this person? You know, like, what will that mean? Like, this will be my biggest win ever, you know? And then maybe they lose game 1. And they're like, oh my God, what if I lose this? What if I get reverse 3-0'd? And then, like, I feel like they try to reset by game 5, then it's too late.
Yeah, well said, right? So it's all about what goes on in your mind. So when you're not thinking about winning or losing is when you play your best game. So those are the two things. The third thing that flow usually needs, people will say arousal. So if a task is too easy, then we'll be bored. If it's too hard, we'll be overwhelmed. So there's this state of something called eustress, EUSTRESS. It's the opposite of dis. So, you know, dis means bad, EU means good, you. So we need a certain level of, like, arousal. Like, but really, if you look at it, so a lot of the flow researchers think that, okay, so you need to be challenged in some way. But if you look at it, the effect in your brain of challenge is one-pointedness of the mind. So if we're overwhelmed, then we're thinking about a lot of different things. I can't win. What if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? If it's too easy, then my mind is not focused on it. I'm kind of AFK. I'm thinking about this, thinking about that. So then we're not going to achieve flow. So you don't technically need arousal. So this is where flow gets a little bit tricky with pissing, because there's usually not arousal with urination. What there is, but if you can urinate in a one-pointed manner, then you'll attain some degree of flow or even ecstasy, which is what we tend to find when people are on long trips. Because for those few moments, you're like, I need to pee, I need to pee, I need to pee. And then when you start peeing, your mind is like fully in that moment, and it feels amazing.
Because you're only peeing, and you're doing nothing else.
And you're doing nothing else. There's no ego. You're not comparing yourself into the stall next door. You know, you're not, none of that. There's not what comes next, what comes. And then before that, oh my God, where's the next bathroom? Where's the next bathroom? Can I make it? Can I make it? Can I make it? My mind is stuck in the future, and there's lots of suffering. So flow state is very doable, and it requires basically 3 things: mind in the present, absence of ego, and one-pointedness.
And one-pointedness is attached to also arousal.
Yes, so arousal is an external way of inducing one-pointedness.
Copy. So you say you shouldn't live life by shoulds.
Yes.
Well, what should you live life by?
That's a great question. Let me think if I have an answer. I guess my best answer would be you should live a life by understanding. So, like, the way you should live life is by understanding. It's like, how should you play a game? Like, the most important thing to playing a game correctly is understanding the game. Then you can do whatever you want to. Right? Like, once you understand the basics of, like, how to headshot, what the different characters are, it's like when someone asks you, like, okay, so I've maybe played Valorant once. Which character should I play in Valorant? Ludwig?
Whoever you feel most comfortable with.
Okay, right? So I would say the same thing about life. So then the question becomes, what are you comfortable with? But the main thing about Valorant
But
and
that's just when you learn.
What do you mean?
Like, that's just when you're learning, right? Isn't it different when you know how to play?
You tell me. So now if I were to ask you, let's say that you do play Valorant, right? So how should you play Valorant? How do you play Valorant?
Dope. Like, I play electric.
Okay. Right? And so why do you play electric?
Just because, like, I play above, like, my skill level, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why is it that you play electric above your skill level? What is it about electric?
I mean, I think ultimately the things that feel the coolest is when I flick and shoot somebody's head. So I try to do that. But then also my desire to win is paramount.
So I think there's a couple of really important things here. So I think your decision to play electric doesn't have to do with the game. It has to do with alignment with yourself. So when you find something in the game that aligns with something, so you're like what rank are you?
Platinum 2.
Oh, damn, plat, son. Nice.
I should be diamond. Go ahead.
So, like, here you are, platinum 2, right? And that's because you're electric spammer. So you're honestly probably somewhere around, what is it, gold is below that?
No, gold is below that. I'm probably diamond, but I am in plat 2, yeah.
Okay. Right. So I think that life should be played the same way. So it should be played in alignment with yourself. So if someone asks you, okay, you should play this, or you should play this character, you should play this character, but the real way to live life is primarily through understanding. So once you understand what the game of life is, what the rules are, how to cultivate a flow state, how to be happy, how to be successful, and then you play in harmony with those principles, then life will be, like, fruitful and easy. So I think understanding is, like, the main goal, not, like, adherence to a particular morality or dogma or strategy. Just understand the game of life.
Me and you have problems.
Okay.
And maybe you don't have this problem, but I feel like you might.
Okay.
You said, what was great was writing a whole book and not releasing it and then streaming and then talking about the stuff I thought out. But now you're already streaming and you don't get the time to write a whole book and then come back with those thoughts. And so aren't you ultimately then just regurgitating the same thoughts that you've already said? And, like, when can you come up with new ideas to express them?
Where do you get the idea that I don't have time to write a new book and don't get new thoughts?
Do you?
Yeah. Hold on a second.
You got a new book coming? You wrote a damn book? This guy's crazy. So, guys, today we're going to talk about gooning. Basically,
So I'm a sucker for paper because I find it, otherwise there's too much eye strain. So here's my miscellaneous psych reading folder. So today I read, this paper is called, Do Females Use Indirect Aggression as an Intersexual Competition Strategy?
do they?
Oh yeah, it's dude. The research on this is fascinating. So, this is actually maybe I can screen share this. Let me just screen share this.
How are you gonna screen share paper?
I'm gonna screen share the PDF that I printed,
Oh,
which would have been way better. But I mean, there's this idea that you don't read. No, I mean, like I write so much. Like I've written text-wise, I've written probably 10 or 11 books in the last. If you just look at word counts, I've written 10 or 11 books in the last 4 years.
So you're writing a bunch, you're still reading a bunch, you're still learning a bunch.
Oh, absolutely.
And so you're able to say new stuff,
Absolutely.
new ideas. So you don't have the same problem I do then.
What's your problem?
My problem is that I stream. And streaming is kind of like condensing somebody's life experiences and then them, showing off that through their personality, through some vehicle, whether it's like a story of their life or like playing a video game and showing off that personality or whatever. But I feel like because I stream all the time, I've run into this problem where like I shared the first 23 years of my life not streaming, which are very interesting years in my, at least I think so. And I don't have like another 23 years I get to live that I can now share.
Yeah, no, I think that's huge. So like, I think that's a huge problem, right? So when you start streaming, you have a bank of stuff and you can dip into your bank. So the thing for me is that what we found is that each video I make gets harder and harder and harder because I started out with a large bank of stuff. So I started streaming 9 years after seeing my first patient. And I started streaming after seeing the majority of patients that I will ever see in my life. Like I saw probably 80 to 90 in residency is crazy, especially the place that I was at. Like it's like one of these places that's called a rigorous program. So what rigorous means is that you're working a lot and you see like in one day, I'll see like 30 patients. And if you're like on call or something like that. So you just see a lot of patients. And then if you're a psychiatrist, you'll see maybe 30 patients a week. But in like one day, you'll see like 30 patients. So I started off with a big bank. And this is what's kind of confusing. I think a lot of like viewers don't understand this is like the longer you do content creator, sure, you get better at certain things, but then some things become increasingly difficult. So now, for example, for like, each lecture I prepare will take me 6 or 8 hours of effort. So I'll read about 100 to 200 pages of scientific literature per lecture, usually.
And before, when you had the bank, is it just off the dome? Or?
Off the dome. And I still incorporate a lot off the dome, but it's like I hadn't taught, and so now it's like I'm learning super cool stuff. Like I learned some fascinating stuff. So I'm reading a lot about female sociopathy right now. So I think we don't really realize, so there was a really interesting study that came out. So if you look at sociopathy or antisocial personality disorder, men are about 2 to 3 times as likely to be diagnosed as sociopaths than women. And so the question is like, why? Is it that men are actually more sociopathic than women? It turns out that recent research suggests that we have gender-based constructs of mental illness. So women are more likely to be diagnosed with anxiety because our definition of anxiety was developed more by looking at women. And anxiety manifests differently in men. Sociopathy manifests as physical aggression in men, but does not manifest as physical aggression in women. Women use something called indirect aggression way more than men relatively, but even more men will use indirect aggression than women. It gets complicated. And so indirect aggression is like, and this was actually inspired by a woman in our community who posted about being a woman being bullied by other women. And I realized like this is a huge problem and like no one talks about woman on woman bullying.
Oof.
And
women talk about it. It happens a lot.
It happens so much, right? But we don't talk about it publicly because if you make a statement like, oh, women are aggressive in these ways, the manosphere will eat that up and they'll say, oh, women are all bad and all this kind of stuff. So I think that there's a hesitance to talk about female aggression. And the real pity here is that women are much more likely to be bullied by other women.
I also think women are good at it.
They are good at it.
So like, you call them out on it, like they're kind of like sly. So it's
no. So this, I mean, I can read you sentences from this. This is crazy. Like we can read sentences from these papers where the way that they practice aggression is with like plausible deniability. So they don't do anything overtly bad. So the victim cannot say you are hurting me. The victim can never blame that's like their pattern. I mean, there's meta-analytic studies about this stuff of like female patterns of bullying. And so a lot of it is indirect aggression. A lot of it is things like ostracization. So they're not going to say anything. They're not going to attack you, but they just will never invite you anywhere. Oftentimes they will say bad things behind your back. Right. And so they'll like sort of like lower your status and things like that. There's a lot of other really interesting stuff in the research. Like people assume that pretty girls are bullies, but there's a lot of research that shows that being a pretty girl makes you more likely to be a target. So both
is it
can
both
be true.
Target and bully?
It can be both. So some studies show that actually like being an attractive woman can make you a target of bullying, which once again, we don't allow people to say, right? So if you're an attractive woman or a privileged woman or a privileged man, we don't allow you to have negative experiences because you're privileged in some way, which in and of itself is, it's got an interesting form of bullying that we do. There's a lot of really fascinating research on this. And I think the reason I'm into it is because there's a lot of women in our community. I don't have a whole lot of personal experience with it. Like I've had patients who, I see this a lot in my patients in finance. So it's a very hyper competitive environment. People make sacrifices. People shit on each other a lot. So I've had patients who have gone through this and it can be like super nasty, like really bad. And the worst thing about being the victim of a female bully, especially if you're a woman, is that you can't call them out on it. Like you can't say like, what are you're not attack, like if you say like, oh, you're like not inviting me to things, the person will, hit back and say like, I forgot. Or they'll say like, you're not obligated with an invite. You're not entitled to an invite, but it's absolutely aggression. Anyway, I got off on a tangent. We can go off on
I think it's, you know what I was thinking for a second there?
What?
We have the same fucking room.
We do. It looks like you have something more on your...
Yeah, I got a little more. I got a kitchen.
Yeah.
But like right here, this shot, we got the same damn room going on.
Yeah.
We got the shelves and the blue wall in the back.
Yeah. Maybe
we both go to male living spaces?
I like male living spaces.
Look at us. We're crazy.
Yeah. But I mean, thankfully our content person designed this. I have no head for this kind of stuff. But
I also did not design this, except for the Pokemon Snap Machine. That was me.
Going back to content creation, though. Yeah, so I think it's super challenging because it's hard because you work through your bank. And then, like, as a content creator, it's, like, hard to just, like, keep making new stuff. That's actually, I think, part of what people appreciate about you. And, like, other people have told me that, they're impressed with how good you are.
Who are these people?
I can't say.
Why? Tell me. I want the ego hit.
I believe that. I can say myself.
Okay.
I'm impressed with you.
I'll take it.
Yeah, I think it's cool. Like, you were telling me about the chess boxing thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's super cool.
That was cool.
So
what's the solution? Do I take a year off?
So content creators can't afford to take a year off. We both know this. I don't even know if you can afford to take a day off.
Take days off.
Okay. I don't, but so what? But I think you're doing something really great. So I think like this. I think it's about creating new experiences. So I think this like motorcycle journey in Japan sounds absolutely fantastic. That's going to add stuff to your bucket to share with the world. I think another awesome adaptation, and I think you probably do this, whether intentionally or not, is I think you share or create experiences with your audience. So it's not that you have to have a bank to access, but hey, we are going to do something together.
Still counts.
What do you mean?
Well, like it's still a new experience for the audience, even if we're experiencing it together.
Right. So I think that's like, so if you have a bank, right? And you've eaten through your bank. So now where do the new things come from? So in my case, we have an awesome research team. And like the research team, I'll be like, hey, I want to talk about this. I want to talk about this. And they'll go and find like a bunch of like cool papers. Like one is super cool. Like we were learning about anger and aggression. I learned something really fascinating. So if you're feeling angry and you squeeze your right hand, so like when we feel angry, we clench our fists.
Like Arthur.
Right? And if you clench your right hand, it activates the part of your brain that leads to aggression. And if you clench your left hand, it activates the part of your brain that leads to restraint.
If you're a lefty, is it the same?
Probably. Although there haven't been studies. So the really thing is this is a causal study. So they actually had people do this. And so like there's all kinds of like cool stuff about like restraining yourself. And we clench our fists, we're both getting ready to fight and restraining ourselves. But there's like most of these brain scan studies are like correlational where we don't really know what's going on. But in this one study, they actually had people do this where they're like clench your left hand and it'll like restrain your aggression. Just cool stuff that you can come up with. Anyway, going back
I just slam desk.
Huh?
I slam desk.
With which hand?
Right hand.
There you go.
Son of a. All right, next time
What'd you just do?
Right hand.
Yeah, you guys see it doesn't even feel the same. You see that?
Oh, it hurt way less. I'm not as good at it.
Right? It's interesting. So like left hand leads to, and if you guys want a citation, we can pull it up at the end of stream. But yeah, clenching your fist. I don't know if this kind of makes sense, but like even when I think about hypothetical aggression, I use my left hand. I'll get you, Batman. And when I think about real aggression, I use my right hand. When I'm actually angry, I do this.
My hand's so weak. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
You said you don't take a day off.
Yeah.
You have a lot of responsibility.
I think so.
I mean, I think so. I'm not saying that as a question.
I believe I have a lot of responsibility.
How many people are under Healthy Gamer? Is it known as a public?
Probably around 170.
It's a lot of people.
Yeah. Thankfully, that's not my responsibility. But
to a degree, it is, though. No?
No, I mean, I think that's what's nice. I think there's an organization that takes care of that, so I have my job. So
if you exploded tomorrow, like combusted, it'd be very sad. Would all 170 have their job for the next 5 years?
I don't know if they. I think there's a good chance. Yes.
Okay.
We're trying to set things up that way. So Healthy Gamer is bigger than Dr. K, and that's what we're like shooting for. Because it is. It's not. It's like there's 100,000 people on our Discord. Like it's bigger than me. So I think it'll exist if I disappear.
So you do have still a lot of responsibility.
I think so.
Do you have to do that? Does it feel heavy?
Not usually. So it feels tiring. It doesn't feel heavy. So when I say I haven't had a day off in 4 years, this is what my experience of it has been. I've taken days off. But I imagine this makes sense to you. It's interesting. Someone actually posted recently on our subreddit, is Dr. K streaming too much? So the reason I feel like I haven't had a day off, this is different in medicine. So like in medicine, like when I go on vacation, I sign out my pager. So all of the work gets done by someone else. The thing about being a content creator, and this is true of some jobs as well, is there's no one else there to do your work. So when I go on vacation, the YouTube uploads continue. Right? So all the work that I have to, all of the work for those 2 weeks that I'm out on vacation has to be done ahead of time. So I actually don't get excused from work. I just double up on work. And it's like the weeks that I'm building that stuff, I don't stop making content for that week as well. Does that make sense? So and this is something that we see a lot with content creators, is that the content has to continue.
You say it gets tiring?
Sometimes I feel tired, yes.
Do you think it's sustainable?
Yes.
Do you want this responsibility for
What I want is irrelevant
Why?
because I'm not here for me.
Would you say that to a woman?
I wouldn't say it to any other human being on the planet.
Oh. So this is a thing that you only apply to yourself and no one else.
100%. Who am I to
Is that
say what standard someone else should live their life up to?
Is that fair?
Of course.
Why is
Well,
that
think
fair?
about-
Isn't that mean to yourself? What do you mean?
No.
Why does everyone else get to do what they
what
want? You can't tell anyone else to do what they
absurdity
want?
Is it
What is
fair for
this?
me to tell you how you should live your life?
No, but like ultimately, if you were earlier you said I should not lead my life by shoulds, but understanding.
Yes.
But like I feel like you would. Am I crazy? I feel like you would if someone was like, "Hey, I kind of want to become a motorcycle professional." I feel like you'd be like, "Yeah, maybe become a motorcycle professional."
Go for it.
But you don't allow yourself to have wants. Why is that? Doesn't seem chill.
No. Hold on. I allow myself to have wants. But what I want in my life is irrelevant compared to what I believe I'm on this earth for. This is a consequence of understanding, not should.
Do you want this responsibility?
Not particularly.
So, let me think on that. What do you want?
I want to be a clinician again, a full-time clinician. I want to have an office where an individual person comes into my office and they sit down on my couch for an hour and we work together. And then about a year from now, their life is better. And then about every year or so, we like exchange one email and they just tell me how well they're doing. And they send me a picture of their newborn baby. That's what I want. That's one of the things I want. Second thing that I want is I want a fucking Dota patch to drop. Third thing that I want is I want to pull my kids out of school and I want to educate them full time, ideally while traveling. Those are the three things. I want to develop an educational curriculum for my children.
But you can't do that. Any of those.
I can do most of those. I can do all of those. Oh, absolutely.
But, sorry, will you do those?
No, not anytime soon. But can I? Of course, I can. I can shutter this and open up a private practice tomorrow. Very easy.
But you won't because your responsibility.
Yes.
Do you only continue because you hold on to the hope that you will be able to do it?
No. There's no hope. Think about hope. What do you mean by hope? Hope means I hope it'll happen. I can do it tomorrow.
Well, you said earlier you're not going to do it.
I'm not anytime soon.
Yes, not anytime soon. Do you know exactly when?
I will do it when I can't not do it anymore.
You will do it when you can't not do it anymore.
When the instrument breaks, that's when I'll stop.
And if it never breaks, that's fine?
That's fine.
And if your kids have grown up and then that will disappear.
Yes.
That third one.
Yes. But it's not like I neglect my children, right? So
Not at all.
I'm not saying that as a defensive thing. What I'm saying is that I have a responsibility to my children. There is an indulgent level of responsibility, which is like I want to teach them, like I want to focus. Like I mean, here I am reading 200 pieces of pages of like scientific literature every 2 weeks for the sake of making a video for the internet. I would love to devote that energy to my kids. Mm-hmm. But I mean, they get a lot of me. They get a lot more of me than any other human beings on the planet, which I think is fair enough. They get more of me than I got of my dad, so I think that like there's progress there. So that's sufficient. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I realize. So this is it's interesting. So maybe this will clarify things. So a couple years ago, I realized I was an entrepreneur. And then the interesting thing, I've worked with a lot of entrepreneurs. One of my buddies from residency is like running $1 billion mental health startup. And so, I was talking to him the other day and we were just kind of reflecting on where we are. And it's interesting, right? Because there's this idea that when you start a company, like there are certain things that you do. So you get acquired, you get this big payday. We got our first buyout offer at Healthy Gamer 3 months after we started. And we get offers for investment and stuff like that all the time. We haven't taken any external money because we don't want to be beholden to investors. Maybe that'll change one day if an investor really gives us the opportunity to really accomplish something meaningful in the world. Like, then that's a different story.
That makes sense.
But I realized recently, like, so I've been going through something of a midlife crisis, which is very interesting. I realized recently, like, why do I get, so even if I had the opportunity to do, I mean, I have the opportunity to do the 3 things. I can't make Dota patch drop, but the other 2 things I can do.
Yeah.
But why do I get what I want when so many other people don't get what they want? So when I look at my life, I wasn't born with cerebral palsy. I was born to privilege. I had an amazing, and I don't mean that in terms of like I should feel guilty or anything. What I just mean is that every one of us spawns into the world with a certain set of stats, a certain spawn point, a certain set of advantages. You know, I don't know who to thank for this, but I certainly didn't do anything to deserve it. I spent 7 years studying to become a monk, and then I spent 10 years becoming a psychiatrist and learning neuroscience. And what am I supposed to do with that? Like, if I just if I set up shop and I just make a ton of money and just sit around on like, is it great? Sure. Like, that's how a lot of people choose to live their lives. That's how they choose to live theirs. But I mean, what about everybody? Like, what about all the degenerate gamers? What about all the people who don't have access to those things?
Yeah, but like, you can't fix everyone.
Certainly not.
But
There's
you're
no
just
way.
trying to cast as wide of a net of people you could help as possible. Because even in your other world, it sounds like maybe you're not helping as many people, but you are helping people to a more personal and higher degree.
Yes.
Like, I think you would improve the lives of your patients individually more than you do currently with Healthy Gamer and how it works.
I think that is a fair statement to make. And I think if you choose to spend your life as a clinician, that's awesome. I think it's very noble work, and I wouldn't, criticize anyone for taking that path. I think, though, that the reason I started Healthy Gamer is because I thought that what we're doing in our offices as psychiatrists and therapists is insufficient. It's not working. It helps those 30 people, but there's huge access to mental health care problems across the globe. And so what about everyone else who can't afford to be in my office? I mean, half of my patients were free. And even then, there's like a line out the door. And I was doing financially fine because I, charged the other half quite a bit.
Right.
And so, but like, it's just not enough. Like, an army of therapists is not going to be sufficient to fix the problem that I see in the world. Because the problem I see in the world is that we don't know how to live life.
There's this YouTube short I keep getting. It's this super old dude. I think he was a clinician or a doctor, a physician. I don't know. Anyway, he always says that he cries at the end of the Winnie the Pooh book.
Okay.
And he basically talks about how he's like 80 or something. Alan Watts, is that right? Is that guy famous? Should I have known who he is?
He is somewhat famous, but I think it's funny that's Alan. I'd love to hear the end of the anecdote.
Well, ultimately, he says he regrets the way he's led his life because he's worked too much. And at the end of Winnie the Pooh, Christopher Robin has to leave to like go to school or something, and he can't play with everybody in the 100-acre woods. And then Winnie says, hey, it'll be just a boy playing with his bear here in the 100-acre woods forever. And then he cries reading that. Do you wish, or do you think there might be a day where you feel like Alan Watts when you're 85 and you've worked so hard?
Oh, I mean, this is hilarious. So if Alan Watts felt that way at 85, not only do I didn't used to think this, but hearing this story, I am now 99% confident that I will feel the same way.
Isn't that bad?
In what way?
To regret the life you've led? Or at least wish you'd led it differently?
I don't think so. So what's the problem with regret? What is regret?
Like when you wish you did something different.
What's the problem? I know what it is. What's the problem with it?
Because you could have done it better.
What is that? Well, tell me what is regret, not how we define it. So pretend I'm an alien and
Okay.
explain to me what regret is.
Regret. Okay, regret would be like, Mr. Alien. It'd be like, okay, you have a result of a world that you were living in, and
Okay.
you wish you changed. You wish you had a different result, and you know probably in that situation what you could have done differently to achieve the different result.
Okay, so a regret is a wish.
Mm-hmm.
That is what it is, right?
Yes.
What is a wish?
Like genie magic lamp, like you're like hoping something will happen.
Okay, so it's a wish is an unfulfilled desire,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, sure.
So it's an what is regret? Regret is an unfulfilled desire. That's it.
But okay, but future regret, if you're saying, "Hey, I'm going to feel this regret," just means it's action you could take now to then lead the life that you wanted to lead.
So, Ludwig, how good of a strategy do you think it is to live a life of avoiding regrets?
It's not great.
There we go.
It's not great.
So like this is where like so here's the thing. So when you ask me how should we live our life, through understanding. So there's a huge difference between having a life of regrets because you were ignorant of what the fuck you were doing and having your eyes wide open and making a decision that could go wrong. So like here's
Do I
the
sound like
thing.
a robot to you right now?
No. Do I sound like a robot to you?
Yeah, a little bit.
Do you want to change the server?
Is that possible?
Yeah, we can go west, right? Oh, hold on.
Texas?
You want to go U.S. Central or U.S. West?
Oh. Wait, I think US Central.
GG, get wrecked. Okay, I just lost Ludwig. Hello? Okay. Hey,
Hello?
did we lose you?
No, I'm here. Wait, can you see my camera?
No, I see your... There we go. We're back.
Boom.
Is this better?
It's good.
Okay. So here's the thing. So I think it's kind of, there's this principle called the precautionary principle, which I'm forgetting exactly what the precise term is. I learned about it in this Michael Crichton book about climate change, which is really interesting. But it's like kind of this idea that like even avoiding a bad consequence could create a bad consequence, right? So if I live
Like
a
That's
life,
So
like,
Raven.
huh?
That's So Raven?
What?
Oh, there's a show called That's So Raven where she has visions of the future of something bad happening, and she tries to avoid the bad thing happening, and then it always happens because she tries to avoid the bad thing happening.
There we go. Right? So like, I mean, here we are saying, okay, let's avoid a life of regret. But like, how do I know? So let's say, oh, I worked so hard, I never took a day of vacation. When I'm 85 years old and Alan Watts is filled with regret, and I too will be filled with regret. So what should I do? I should take more vacations. But then let's say that I take more vacations. And then when I'm 85 years old, I could regret something else. Right? So like you don't know what your future self is going to regret. The best strategy is to understand the nature of regret. For me, accept that you're going to have some regrets in your life. And I'm not saying I'm going to do this forever. Just like you, I don't know if you're going to be streaming at the age of 52 to 52-year-olds. I mean, who the fuck knows? But in this moment, I'm going to keep going until the instrument breaks. And when enough is enough, then we're done. And will I look back at that moment and will I say I worked too hard? Sure. But even then, what are we talking about here? What is the consequence of me working too hard? I made three additional, let's say I actually took a vacation. So over a 2-week period, we have, let's say, 4 uploads.
Okay.
So let's say each upload takes me about 6 to 8 hours. So this is like 32 hours of work. Okay? So if I work 32 hours less over a 2-week period, what is the consequence to me? I gained 32 hours. What is the consequence to the rest of the world? I don't know. So what we tend to see with our videos is that, we don't always make the most successful videos on purpose. So there are a couple of videos that we're super proud of. One is a video on why people on the autism spectrum are more likely to be non-binary. So like 1% of people in the world are like on the autism spectrum, maybe 1 to 3% because it's growing. 1% of people in the world are non-binary. So we're talking about, this is a video that is made for the, 0.001% or whatever.
Right.
But like, that's one of the videos that I'm the happiest about because no one is making videos for them. No one is explaining to them, hey, you're on the spectrum. Here's the neuroscientific basis for why you don't have a very well-formed gender identity, or your sense of gender identity is different from other people's. Right? So like, this is where like, this has real costs to people. And you're right that when I work as a clinician, I have a large impact on a small number of people. And when we do this kind of stuff, we have, like, think about the conversation that we're having. I don't know how many people are watching. I don't look at how many people watch, but let's assume that if we're lucky, 10,000 people watch this. Okay? Likely to be way more than that, probably at least 100,000 people. And so if 10,000 people watch this and they're living a life of avoidance of regret, they don't know what the flow state is, they lack confidence in themselves, imagine how much impact we could have. So what is 32 hours of my life compared to all of that? Dude, even if you don't believe in God or reincarnation or whatever, even if we take a hard physics approach, dude, I'm just one fucking collection of cells that has neurons, that has electrical impulses, that is going to exist for one flash of a second in the history of the universe. What is the value of my happiness? Very little. In the grand scheme of things.
You've reaffirmed my fears.
Good. What are you afraid of?
I'm going to be tired for so long. Do you consider yourself a provider? Like, what do you call yourself? What do you think you are?
You mean like professionally?
No,
like-
because you have a lot of responsibilities, and you seem beholden to both the people that work for you, or like Healthy Gamer as a whole, but also the people of the world. What do you think?
Hold on.
Go ahead.
So here we are talking all these big things. Let's understand what the fuck we're actually talking about. Here I am. Oh my God. Dr. K has such big responsibilities across the world. I'm working right now. You are working right now. We're working.
I'm not working. We're not working. I'm not working.
I'm working.
I'm talking to my friend Dr. K.
This is my job. I'm sitting here in my mirrored
You're
office
I'm
with
not saying
you.
you're not working. I'm just saying I'm not.
I got water brought to me. I'm having a conversation about things that I really enjoy. This is my job. What sacrifice is this? This is great. I'm not on hold with an insurance company right now. Right? So just because
yes, that's true.
just because we don't put ourselves first doesn't mean that we have to put ourselves last.
I've had this vision for a while.
Yeah.
Because I have a company.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people at the company.
Yep.
And I think if I exploded tomorrow, the company would go away.
Yeah.
So I need to keep working.
Okay.
And I thought in my mind, like, oh, I'll work for X long, and then I'll be able to do some stuff I want. The similar list that you have, except Dota patch is not in there. One of mine's the opposite. It says no Dota patch for another 10 years. And I'm like, okay, well, when do I get to do what I want to do? And now I feel like the answer might be maybe I never do what I want to do.
So I'm glad to have reaffirmed your fears, but I think there's a couple of steps that you're adding to the equation. This is where we need to understand.
Okay.
So when you do what you want to do, what happens?
Happy.
What is the nature of that happiness?
Good.
See, this is where ignorance comes in. I don't mean that as an insult. I mean, like, we don't understand what happiness is. So talk to Alien for a second. What is happiness?
Like when you feel good, Like,
what does that mean? I'm an alien. Explain it to me.
I don't know. Do you have alien sex? Do you have an alien wife?
Sure.
Does your alien wife make you happy? Like, how do you feel when you see your alien wife after a 3-week break?
Okay. So we can learn so much, right? So we can learn that deprivation leads to happiness.
Uh-huh.
We can learn that certain sensory things lead to happiness.
Yeah.
Right? So happiness is an internal reaction.
Uh-huh.
So what destroys happiness? What destroys do you like your job?
Yeah.
Then why are you unhappy?
I'm not unhappy.
Then what are you
It's just
worried about?
not, well, because it's not what I want to do.
What do you want to do?
Open a bakery.
Okay. So I think this is really good. So let's understand a couple of things, okay? The first thing is that your sense of responsibility is what takes away your happiness. It's a burden. You feel responsible for other human beings. You need to let that go. So you learn this the hard way as a doctor, right? Because at the beginning when we're doctors, we're responsible for saving lives.
This is just rich coming from you.
What?
You need to let that go?
Yes.
Yeah, I need to let go my sense of responsibility.
100%.
And you're saying you have to be responsible to people who have leprosy in Albania.
I know it sounds contradictory, but it's not. So hear me out, okay?
Okay, I'd love to hear this.
Yeah, no, because think about this for a second. Because if this has been holding you back because you think that these two things are contradictory, imagine if they're not. Imagine if there's one. Okay, so here's the thing. I can't control. So this is what you learn as a doctor. Patient comes in. I'm here to save their life. Can I save their life, Ludwig?
Maybe.
Maybe. That's the right answer. That's the best answer. I don't control life or death. I have a lot of tools at my disposal. Oh my God, let's put them on a ventilator. They're in the ventilator in the ICU, and they have a pulmonary embolism that goes to their brain, and then a pulmonary embolism doesn't go to the brain, goes to their lungs, and then they die. Can't do anything about that. Right? So in life, we can only do what we can do. We are only responsible for ourselves. Can I save the internet? What absurdity is this? Who am I? I'm fucking a guy sitting in his office talking to a computer screen. You could be an AI for all I know. I could be in a mental institution for all I know. Maybe someone is humoring me. What impact do I have on other people's life? I can't take responsibility for that. All I can take responsibility for is my own actions. What absurdity is this? Can I save a single person? I don't think I can save a single person. That's crazy. Do you realize I can work as hard? And I tried, buddy. I tried, bro. I've tried to save people who are addicted. I've tried to save people who have heart disease. I've tried to save people from needing their 4th amputation. I've tried so hard to save people. You know what I realize? People are going to do what they're going to do. I can only do what I can do.
It doesn't make any damn sense why you're going to keep working in perpetuity until the wheels fall off, trying to make videos for as many, groups as possible, including what?
Of course it does. Because when we talk about you, no. Hold on. You don't get to run away from your words.
Okay. No, I'm not.
So you don't concern yourself with success. What do you concern yourself with?
What do you mean?
So earlier we were talking about success, right? And you said, yeah, I want to be successful in these things. And I said, do you strive for success? You said, no. What do you do on a day-to-day basis, Ludwig?
I work.
Is that successful? What do you focus on?
Out? What I focus on?
Right? Do you think about the success?
No, I focus on what I have to do.
That's it. That's it. I focus on what I have to do. And is it going to work? Is it not going to work? I don't know. This is the flow state. We don't think about the outcome. The responsibility is the outcome. It's like, I'm not responsible for other people. I'm just going to wake up. I was given 17 years of training and understanding how a human being works. What am I going to do with that? I'm going to try to help people with it. Is it going to work? Who the fuck knows? So we did something with our content. So there's a lot of truisms in content, right? If you make a video and it's successful, make a second version.
Yeah.
So what we found, we listened to all of the common sense. They're like, oh, people like this topic, so make a second video. What we always found is that the second video and the third video that we made on a popular topic just got worse. Never as good as the original.
True.
So instead, what we did is we're not going to repeat anything. We're just...
No repeats.
I mean, we do some and honestly, no repeats.
Why not just go back to the well? Okay,
Huh?
but you have an issue, no? The way YouTube works is like if somebody watches a video, then like 5 years later, your audience is going to be totally different. So why not just like go back, repeat some shit?
So, well, in some sense we do, but what we figured out is that tap into what was going on inside us when we made that first video. What were we leaning into? Right? So this is how we, like, and our YouTube channel has gotten way better, right? And I mean, Twitch performance, I'm sure, has improved too. And like, this is where like, and the thing is like, we're just going to focus on like what people need. That's our compass, not what has been successful. It's what do people need today? That's our compass. Right? So we made a really weird video about why therapy sucks for men. And was one of our best performing videos. We've never talked about that before. I'm a fucking therapist. And I'll be the first to say there are problems with this field. And then also in that video, we don't say don't go to therapy. We say, if you're a man, here's how to use therapy correctly. Because what I hear time and time and time again is, I went to therapy, it didn't help. And now, like, we're making this video on, like, female sociopathy. Why? Because someone posted and they're like, I get bullied by girls, and we see this a lot in our community. So this will take a big step back.
Okay.
I mean, in a sense, I have some responsibility, but I don't feel responsible. So if someone comes to me tomorrow and says, hey, Dr. K, like, you've done a terrible job and no one has been helped by you, I'll be okay with that. Will I try to do better? Absolutely. But I mean, how can I regret what I've done? I did the best that I could. Maybe famous last words. One day I'll wake up and I'll say, oh, this is so stupid. I was behaving so stupidly this whole time. Maybe. But like, the most you can do is the best you can do is the most you can do. That's it. Yeah, I don't have to feel responsible for other people. So when you're saying, okay, like, if I blow up tomorrow, will the thing continue? And you asked me that question. Now we know where that question comes from. It comes from your own fear. And we recognize that. So we have a whole team that is trying to figure out, because Healthy Gamer is bigger than Dr. K. A lot of people may not realize that now. I believe that because I recognize I'm expendable. A plane could crash tomorrow. I could get hit by lightning. I could have a stroke. Like, all kinds of things, all kinds of bad stuff could happen.
So you're going to go till the wheels fall off. What does that look like? You keep saying go till it breaks. What does it breaks?
It's a good question. So I think I'm actually, ironically, not great at detecting when I'm not doing well. So I learned this kind of the hard way in residency, where one day my program director pulled me aside and she's like, you're making mistakes. You've been here for 3.5 years. You've never made like, we make regular mistakes, but you're like making dumb mistakes. I've known you've been here for 3.5 years. Like, what is going on? What, like, this is not you. And that's when I was like, oh shit. And then I told her something that I was going through in my personal life, and I was like, oh shit, like, I'm human too. Wow. I thought all my yogic training protected me from that. It turned out I was just numbing and dissociating and doing all the other stuff that, normal people do when they ignore their problems. So, I mean, right now, I don't know what that's going to look like. Like, I mean, there's a lot of work that we do right now. I think at some point it'll feel like too much. Like, I asked for a day off a couple recently, and I was kind of like told no, which is like fair enough, right? So like, I trust my team trusts me. My team is fantastic. They care about me a lot. They support me a lot. And so if they tell me like I can't take a day off, I can't reschedule stream, like, I don't ask again, because I know they're doing everything in their power to try to make my life as good as possible. And that's how it is, right? So like, you do the work that needs to be done.
So you're telling me you basically work until somebody says, hey, man, it's not working with you anymore. You're out? Because you can't judge your own success?
Oh, I don't follow the question. I don't.
Well, you keep saying, I will do it till it breaks.
Yeah.
But you also then said you can't gauge when it's broke.
I used to not be able to gauge.
Oh, okay.
Right? So now one of two things will happen. Either I still can't gauge, right? Because I think I've grown in that capacity. So I will take like breaks, but it's not like medicine where I like leave for 2 weeks. All the work has to be done. So I already know that, I mean, I'm going to stream 4 times this week. I'm going to take Friday night off. I'm going to take Saturday night off, and I'm going to work a full day Sunday. I already know that. That's what most of my weeks are like. Where taking a day off, normally what I would do is there's 4 hours of work that's allotted for Saturday, 4 hours of work that's allotted for Sunday, and I'm going to compile those into Sunday because I can't work for like 16 days in a row. I need some kind of break. And there's two kinds of breaks. There's like shifting work from one day, and then there's being excused for work. So when I say I've been, and this is not that uncommon, by the way, there are a lot of people who experience this, where like even their days off are just shifting work around. And we don't acknowledge this enough in society. We call it a vacation, but there are people who are responsible for their duties before they go on vacation and after they come back. And there are people who are like, if someone else does the work, I'm just going to have to redo it when I come back.
No, that's why vacations suck.
Right? So I think there's a lot here that needs to be understood, which is that, so instead of going for this vacation and take a break from work and disliking your work, I think that there's a real process of crafting your day-to-day experience to be somewhat enjoyable. Case in point, today a Dota patch is going to drop. I had a conversation with my wife yesterday. I've done all of my work for tomorrow, and I told her, hey, can you watch the kids today? This Dota patch is going to drop. I'm going to play a lot of Dota. Right? So I enjoy my life. I have a lot to be grateful for. But this is where if we understand what is regret, regret is in the mind. What is tiredness? Do I have fatigue in my body? Then I'll rest. When the instrument breaks, it breaks. But I don't think, we'll see. But I think the whole point is to figure out how to live your life sustainably. Meditate for twice a day for 30 minutes. Go to the gym 3 times a week. Take care of yourself. Get drunk once every 6 months. Have sex with your alien wife every now and then.
Can't tell Cutie about my alien.
Right? And then it's like, it's little things. Like, like going out with your kids. And one of my kids was like, hey, can we do something? And I was like, sure, we can do that. We can actually cancel your class this day, and we can go, and we're going to go have a bubble tea or something like that. It's about recognizing, see, this is the problem with life, is we think in the future dimension. So we think, I'm going to delay my gratification. I'm going to be happy tomorrow. And then we go on sacrificing today. The only way to survive 4 years without a vacation is to have your every day be somewhat livable.
You've come to this conclusion post midlife crisis, I assume?
It's crystallized. I think I'm still going through the midlife crisis.
You speak so confidently for a man going through a midlife crisis.
Yeah, so the midlife crisis has been quite fun. So what happened with me is I started having all these weird thoughts. And then I was like, what is going on? And I was like, oh, this is a midlife crisis. I recognize it now. I didn't realize what was happening. I started questioning, what the fuck am I doing with my life? And what's going on here, right? Like, we've been building this thing. It's been growing by 25% a year. We're doing this, and we're doing this, and we're doing this, and this opportunity comes, and this opportunity comes, and am I happy? We wrote this book. Am I going to write another book? What are we doing? And I was like, oh, this is a midlife crisis. I started to have some regrets. I started to have new things I wanted to explore.
In a midlife crisis in your mind, because you're speaking so confidently, I don't see any hints of it. I only hear you speak about it, is like distracting wrong thoughts that are trying to suck you away from what is.
No, I wouldn't call them distracting or wrong. So I think this is what's super cool is I think that there is a biological mechanism for the midlife crisis. I don't have research to back this up. The closest thing is probably the work of someone named Erik Erikson. So Erik Erikson, I think, was a psychoanalyst or something. I don't know exactly what he was.
Swedish guy?
Maybe. I don't know. Are you Swedish?
Yeah.
I don't know. We can see. But so Erikson, kind of his approach to psychotherapy is that we basically have certain conflicts at certain phases of our life. So when you're a teenager, there are certain kinds of mental things that you have to do. Then you're a young adult. And then at some point in your midlife crisis, you look back at your trajectory, or actually in old age, you look back and then you're either filled with regret, or can you make peace with the decisions you made and stuff like that. It's a really brilliant approach to psychotherapy. And so what I thought is I always thought that my yogic training made me impervious to that stuff, but it doesn't. So the interesting thing is that process goes on, but I'm observing it from out here and being like, oh, this is just the midlife crisis. This is a desire. This is some degree of regret. Those are all just thoughts in the mind. That's the big thing that I think people don't get is what is regret? Regret is a thought in the mind. It is an unfulfilled desire. So you have a regret in your life when you're 85. When you're driving down the road and you need to take a piss and you go take a piss, where is that regret? You're just a dude pissing. And the biggest thing that I've learned is that your life is actually a string of moments that are actually perfectly fine. It is when they get strung together and abstracted by your mind that we become unhappy. So I was working with a guy who was 28, and he said, I don't know if I'm too old to go to college because in 4 years, I'm going to be 32. And when I'm 32, I don't know if it's going to I'll be 32 and just starting out in my career. And I was like, 4 years from now, you're going to be 32 no matter what you do. The question is, 4 years from now, do you want to have a degree or do you not want to have a degree? The time is going to pass. Right? Time is always going to pass. There's always going to be unfulfilled desires. There are always going to be things that you can't have. I know that you want it all. I want it all too. The only difference is that I've come to realize, at least in this moment because I'm having a good day, that you're not going to get it all. What absurdity is this? So console yourself with what you have. Learn to be happy with what you have. By all means, strive for more. By all means, work hard. Try to get more. I'm not saying don't try to get more. But don't let your happiness be dependent on the more. This is the difficulty that a lot of people have. You can strive for more. You can play to win. But you don't need to tilt just because you lose.
Okay.
Still contradictory?
No, but I think my vision might be wrong.
How so?
Well, so I have a company off-brand, and I have a streaming career. And basically my goal was to help like as many people around me, not like in a charity way, but like get work and achieve the things that they want to achieve and make cool stuff together, which we've succeeded at doing. And then like I built up a team and I was like, oh fuck, I got a big ass team. This only works if I keep doing this forever, but I can't do this forever for reasons outside my control. And so I'm like, okay, well then I should make sure this works without me, which is my current mission.
Good.
And then I was like, okay, when I'm done that, maybe I can just disappear and open up a bakery or something.
Sounds like a great plan.
But I don't know if that is a great plan. Because I think even I think at any now I feel maybe okay, I should keep working and then like make it more successful and ensure success more.
So pardon me for saying this. You're making one very simple mistake.
Doesn't sound like me. Go ahead.
It doesn't sound like you. That's why it's so hard to pick up, because you don't do this.
Yeah.
So you are assuming that the outside world is deterministic for your internal state. Right?
Say it again, but for me.
So like you're assuming that the decision you make, whether you grow the company or make a bakery, one of these two things will solve your problem. Neither of those things will solve your problem. Here's what's going to happen. Here's what's going to happen when you open the bakery. Let's say you achieve your mission, which you're going to do, by the way. No doubt in my mind. You're going to find some way to have off-brand be somewhat independent. You're going to be like, I'm going to do, and I think you'll do this. You'll start a bakery because, you know, I have a feeling I know some part of you, and you'll start a bakery. And then what's going to happen is you're going to carry your problem with you. The bakery isn't going to fix the problem. Then the bakery is going to be successful because you're good at that kind of thing. And you really like to bake. So you're going to have a bakery. And then what's going to happen is a year or two into the bakery, you're going to have a second branch, and then you're going to have a third branch. And then you're going to feel like, oh my God, all these people are dependent on me.
Oh, fuck. And then I have to do it all over again.
There you go. So this is the big thing that is so confusing. I see this all the time in relationships. I have a problem with this person, right? This relationship isn't right for me. You leave the relationship, you go find someone else, and you find yourself back in square one. The problem with like relationship baggage is that you carry it with you. And relationships aren't the only place that we have baggage. We have baggage from all the other dimensions of our life. We have baggage when we learn to play chess. Oh my God, I feel ashamed. I don't want to lose. That doesn't come from chess. We carried that with us. So your problems are not created by the outside world. I mean, this is crazy. They're created by what you carry and the way that you see it.
I had an idea to solve this, actually.
Okay.
It's called the 1,000-Day Bakery.
Okay.
It explodes after 1,000 days.
People have tried that solution. Pop-up stores, temporary things. I think, I forget what the name of this YouTube channel was. I think someone made a YouTube channel that they just took down after a year, and it got like tons of views and things like that.
Honest Unness.
Yeah, that's right. Right? And this, by the way, is you just stumbled upon a very important revelation from the Zen tradition. So in the Zen tradition, we have a couple of different things that we do. One is like sand gardens and sand sculptures, and also mandalas. They create something beautiful for it to be destroyed. So you create something with like colored grains of rice. You create some work of art, and then you abolish it.
How do you abolish it?
You just get rid of it. Mix it up, because it's made by sometimes it's made by grains of rice. So you arrange grains of rice until you have some beautiful pattern, and then you go
like a sandcastle.
Yeah, sandcastle. Very good. Right?
You said that like I was a 10-year-old. It felt nice.
No. I mean, it's brilliant. What's the joy in sandcastles? We've all figured this out. With something as simple as a sandcastle, the joy is in the making, not in the having. See, if you really think about it, the moment that you have a sandcastle, all kinds of problems happen. You have to make sure it doesn't get messed up. Now you have to do this. Now you have to do this. Now you have to do this. Now you have to do this.
A lot of upkeep.
A lot of upkeep.
Got to hire people to upkeep.
Absolutely.
How are you going to keep those people's mouths fed?
This sandcastle is so great. Now we got to expand. We got to build another one. Everyone's saying take investors. Everyone's saying we're going to expand to a different state.
They want sandcastles East Coast now. It's supposed to be big on East Coast.
And then we're going to open up a branch in the UAE, and it's going to be great. Like so this is the beautiful thing. Like the joy is in the making. If you can find the joy in the making, if you can find the joy in the day-to-day, because what else is there? Technically, what else is there? It is just one moment in time. That's all there is. One day at a time. That's the only thing that exists. The past doesn't exist. It existed. The future doesn't exist. It will exist, but in that moment, it's always the present. So if you can be happy in this moment, if you can learn how to live in this moment, then it's simple. No contradictions. Do I have a responsibility? Absolutely. Do I feel burdened by it? No. Why not? Because what arrogance is this? What, am I going to change the world? I'm a collection of cells. Am I going to try?
Well, burdened
Absolutely.
because you wake up and do it every day.
Yeah, sure. No, I don't wake up and do it every day. I wake up and I do it today on the days that I can. And on the days that I can't, I don't.
And if it ever came to a head where you couldn't do it anymore, you would just stop.
I haven't been able to do it anymore. And on that day, I stopped. And you know, one of the most beautiful things, this is something I learned over the last year. I'm so grateful for having my battery recharged tomorrow. One of the things that has really helped me over the last year and a half is knowing that when I wake up tomorrow, I will have more energy. And so far, that has been true. So
okay, that's all I needed. I got it. That's good. You know what? Ignore what they're saying. You're good at this. I'll just do it today.
And if you can't do it today, we'll see how you feel tomorrow.
See how I feel tomorrow.
The problem is...
And it doesn't have to be permanent either way.
No.
I don't have to permanently do it forever. And if I don't feel good, I don't have to permanently stop doing it forever.
Don't worry about forever. And even 2 days in a row. Recently, I took a whole weekend. It was glorious.
You dirty dog.
It's great.
A whole weekend.
Like I went
okay.
into Friday afternoon and I told my wife, I was like, hey, I've got to do, about 8 hours of work this weekend. And it's very frustrating for her because she knows I have all these lofty goals and then she tries to support me and then I end up playing Dota all day. Then she's like, what the fuck? I took the kids out the whole day and you didn't do any work.
That was me. I did that this past weekend too. I was like, girlfriend, I have to do some work on shorts. And then I recorded a couple. And then I was like paralyzed. I was like, I can't do it anymore. And then I played a game of Valorant. And she's like, you're playing a game of Valorant? I was like, yeah, I'm playing a game of Valorant.
It's hard, right? I think thankfully she's awesome and she understands this. And now I've understood this. And I've now come to realize that instead of reflexively going into, I need to do a lot of work, I just, I'm like, hey, it'd be good if I got some work done over the course of this weekend. I think I'm going to give myself 24 hours. And then on Sunday morning rolls around, I'm like, I'm going to take another day. And then the beautiful thing, I don't know if you're like this. I think the majority of people in our community are like this. Like you can get 20 hours of work done in 6 hours if you're just focused and rested. So I think a big part of this is not draining on the macro scale on a day-to-day basis. Right? So really maintaining your wellness is critical.
Yeah.
And it's not really a marathon. It's okay, I just need to have enough energy tomorrow. I want to take care of myself and set myself up for tomorrow. But anyway, so it sounds like something clicked for you. And so this whole conversation, by the way, has been for that moment. This is all stumbling around. And what regrets can we have? Could we have gotten there faster? Of course not.
Yeah, I think you have a cool brain. And I think you're in a somewhat similar spot. Different in many ways, but similar in some. We both heal the world with our words. And so I wanted to see what you think about it, because you've gone through a midlife crisis. I don't think I'm there. I'm just young. But I do stress about it constantly. But it's not a burden, because I can just do what I can do today. And that's enough. And that's good.
Yeah.
And if tomorrow I'm tired, that's chill. I can be tired.
And the last thing I'd encourage you to think about is when you say you stress about it every day, understand the nature of stress. What is stress? It is a thought in the mind about a future projection. And at the end of the day, whether you're stressed about it or not stressed about it, your actions today are the same. Do you need to make some consideration in the future? Sure. But the and that's I'm so grateful for these super long calls and challenging patience, because that's when you learn the right answer is the right answer. It may not work out, but it's still the right answer.
You know what it's kind of like? You ever play Majora's Mask?
Yeah, absolutely. Love it. Favorite Zelda game.
I feel like my burden is the moon, but I kept looking at the moon. But you don't beat the game by staring at the moon.
Beautiful.
You beat the game by... Well, there's actually a pretty long process. You have to beat a few temples, but playing your first, second, and third day, and then just do what you can do.
It's brilliant, Ludwig. And I know you were trying to be facetious, but I think we both know you aren't when we both say we're trying to use our words to heal the world, and I think that's great. I think Majora's Mask is the best analogy for how you should live your life. It never connected for me. It's just day 1, 2, and 3 over and over and over again. And the whole reason that people get burnt out is because they live day 1, 2, and 3 in a shitty way, hoping for day 100 to be better. And then they go back and they live day 1, 2, and 3, sacrifice, but it's just day 1, 2, and 3 over and over and over again. And then day 100 rolls around and suddenly the problems aren't solved. It's still day 1, 2, and 3. It's always day 1, 2, and 3. You just reset, you reset, you reset. So find that joy in days 1, 2, and 3. Do work that you find gratifying, that can help you go to sleep at night. And find some joy in days 1, 2, and 3. And you'll get another day 1, 2, and 3 tomorrow, and then life will fly by.
And then one day we can be on a beach together in Turks and Caicos.
Not one day. When?
When?
Yes, not one day. One day will never come. I'm asking you when. When are we going to do that? See what I mean? Don't think one day. That's a mistake. That's not day 1, 2, and 3. When in day 1, 2, and 3 is all we've got.
Day 4.
That's the problem. Is everyone's like, oh, one day I'm gonna do. No, fuck that. Start today.
All right, I'll buy the trip now.
I mean, I don't know if you mean me and you, but
would you buy a trip for 20, like 50?
I don't think you can.
That's a good point. I guess you can't guarantee the airlines.
I think like if you look at so you're going on this motorcycle trip, I think that's beautiful. And I think for people who are watching, by the way, that doesn't just mean good stuff. I mean, I think it also means work, right? So play one less game of Dota, play one less game of Valorant. Like for everyone who's listening to this, like we're not saying give it all up, but just like do 1 hour of not what you should do, or do something that you will be grateful for that will help you sleep. There are four things. There are 4 things that scientifically lead to sustained happiness that are outside of the dopamine circuit. I know I'm pontificating. But so I was telling you the problem with dopamine is that we get diminishing returns. Like, so eat your first cookie, second cookie isn't as good, third cookie isn't as good. There are 4 things that we can do that lead to sustained happiness. And this is more related to our serotonergic circuit of the brain. It's an oversimplification. But there's basically 2 kinds of happiness. There's hedonic happiness, which is dopaminergic, and there's eudaimonic happiness, which is like serotonergic. It's like contentment in life. Self-determination, self-expression, importance, and effort. These are the 4 scientific things that correlate with people feeling happy, content, even if the circumstances are bad. So if you are in a hedonic state, if you get your dopamine, then you're happy. If you don't get your dopamine, then you're not happy. You have a diminishing return to happiness. So even if you get your happiness today, you will be less happy an hour from now and tomorrow. Eudaimonia comes from self-determination. What did I say? Self-determination, importance, effort.
Something else.
And
There's 2 selves.
It's somewhere. Yeah, I forgot. I can't believe. Oh, yeah.
Self-expression.
Self-expression. Right? So like, and that's so as you do these 4 things, right? So it's like when I take a break from Dota for 1 hour to write 1 chapter of a book, that is self-expression and self-determination. I choose to do something, and I'm gonna express myself in the world in some way, and it feels really good, even though I'm having less dopamine.
It's like ikigai.
Yes, it is. I think ikigai is very similar to that. I got to see that Alan Watts thing, by the way, because I'm super curious. By the way, Alan Watts is a Zen meditation teacher. That's why it's really...
Who also died in the 70s, so it's not Alan Watts.
Okay.
I'm realizing. I just saw the name Alan Watts in chat and read it as if it was Bible.
Okay. I mean, it may have been. So the other thing is that Alan Watts may have been detached from his regret, which I think is the real goal. Is like, it's okay to have regret. Like, you're going to have regrets in life, so don't stress about them.
It was Gabor Mate.
That makes a lot more sense.
Does it? Who's that?
Gabor Mate is a brilliant psychiatrist who part of his brilliance comes from his own flaws. So he has done so much. He has struggled immensely himself. He is... I have one of his books right here. Here it is.
That's crazy. You read his book, and I watched a TikTok of him talking about Winnie the Pooh.
This is a great book. If you guys are struggling with addiction, it's called "In the Realm of Hungry Ghosts." So he talks about addiction, and it's actually very, very apt to what we just talked about, because so in the I forget which country it's from. Maybe there's somewhere in the Buddhist tradition. They believe that between Earth and Hell, there's like this other plane called the realm of hungry ghosts, which is filled with souls who, no matter how much they eat, they never feel full. So it's like these ghosts that constantly feel hunger, but their hunger can't be satisfied. And he uses it as kind of an example of addiction, because that's what addiction is. It's like you're always wanting something. And it's also true of dopamine. Like, no matter how many games of Valorant you play, you're never going to be satisfied.
No. Actually, I honest to God think if I hit Diamond, I uninstall.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
For how long?
That's a good question, because it wouldn't be permanent. But I would get a good year.
Yeah.
And that's something.
How far are you from diamond?
Close. Like if I won 6 games in a row, I'd hit it.
Do you want to hit it?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Diamond's like, I think the start of, hey, you're pretty good.
Oh, really? Platinum's
I
not.
think so.
What percentile is platinum? Platinum has to be like top 25%, top 10%. What?
Maybe top 25. Yeah, maybe top 20. It's not that good though.
God tier gamer alert. And top 25 is.
You want to be like top 5. Because plats, it's like, you know, you can trip in a plat.
I don't know. So you know, it's interesting because a lot of people will complain about the top levels of matchmaking in so many games. So I realized recently I actually don't want to climb because apparently like I'm in the good zone.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, I think
it's like games are more fun because if you get better, it's so easy to start winning.
there's a line. I think for Valorant, it's a little, because so like gold plats, I don't know, it's tough. Ascendant's supposed to be horrible, but there's so many Smurfs. I guess there's never a fun line is the reality. You're always going to run into some shitters.
Yeah, so I think it's about how you play the game. Right? Which is like, once again, the analogy for life. It's always
you know about God Mode May?
No, what is that?
God Mode May is the month where everything you think you can achieve, you achieve.
Is that
so you set yourself up with like a list of, you know, the things that you wanted to do. I wanted to go to bed on time. I wanted to start reading. I wanted to start riding a bike. And you do it for just the month of May. And then if you succeed, you can give yourself a little treat. And if you fail, you have to punish yourself.
I think it sounds great. I think we'll look into that very seriously next year. We have similar stuff. So we have a community challenge where week 1 is about goal setting and accountability. Week 2 is about relationships. Week 3 is about creativity and self-expression. And week 4 is about making the world a better place. And if enough community members participate, then I will do a React stream to, what is it? Who are those dating coaches?
Like Cut? Oh.
No, the pickup artists. I'm gonna do.
Oh.
I'm gonna react to pickup artists.
Oh, like Fresh and Fit? Oh,
I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Someone said that I should go on Fresh and Fit recently.
I think you. I don't know if you should. Well, I guess you could. It would make me watch Fresh and Fit, which makes me not. It makes me. It'd be good because it'd make me want to watch it, but then I think it'd be bad because then I'd watch Fresh and Fit. And ultimately, I think the world's probably a better place the less people who watch Fresh and Fit.
Okay.
But I think if you want to do it.
I'm happy to just go about it anyway. I mean, usually when we go on things, we don't know much about them, which is how we try to approach it.
Yeah.
So I try to go in blind and not form, because like
I think it's good.
Yeah. But anyway, we'll see.
Well, I feel healed.
Cool. I feel good too. My mind is still blown over the market basket thing, man. I feel like there's been I can't believe it looks so similar. I never had any idea. The quality is quite different though.
What's interesting is Market Basket went on strike, the New England one, and then they unionized. And then the Market Basket in Texas was incorporated as a co-op. So it's like they're very similar. They have the same logo. They have the same sort of corporate structure, same name.
I just realized that yours has the Bostonian market. I didn't even realize that at the very beginning.
Yeah. That's why they don't say that like that in Texas. It's a little different with the Texas shirt.
Yeah, that's great, man. All right, well, cool. I'm glad you feel healed. Thank you so much for coming today. Any last thoughts or questions before we wrap up?
Yeah, can you give me something to watch or read? And then can I give you something to watch or read?
Absolutely. What are you looking for? Because you
I think
do a
you
book
know
club,
me a good
right?
bit. I do a book club, yeah.
Do you want fiction or nonfiction?
Whatever you think. I don't want to create barriers. I think I'm quite open-minded to enjoy it, but I think if you had like based off how you know me, like we've talked quite a few times, what you think might resonate with me more is what I think I'd care about.
Have you read Count of Monte Cristo?
No.
That's my recommendation.
Count of Monte Cristo.
Unabridged. Okay, none
How
of this
long is that?
abridged shit.
Wait. Now you're scaring me. 18844? Oh, it's Alexander Dumbass. How long is this? All right, I'll read the count.
It's I mean, if you like fiction, like I read it once every like 3 or 4 years. I tear through it. Yeah. So
It's a French guy.
I realized this recently. So I did this interesting internal study about my memory. And what I realized is I read about 1 book a month on average. And it takes me about 10 years to forget. So my enjoyment of a book is back to like a first time read if I wait about 10 years. Which
That's
means
smart.
or maybe about 8 years. So I need 96 books. I need 96 10 out of 10 books, and then I'm fucking done looking for books.
You
I'm
just
gonna
keep reading
reread
them?
Yeah.
Go through that. Because, you know, everyone's always like, well, what movie would you love to watch if you could rewatch it for the first time? And it's like, if enough time passes, you get to do that.
Yeah, right. That's the thing, is you have to wait. So for me, it's about 8 years. So I need 96 books.
If you watch it on an edible, the time halves. Or read on an edible. Does that work?
I'm not sure, man. I guess we'll have to try it one day and find out.
Okay. All right.
What's your recommendation?
What medium? Do you have a medium you prefer?
I like audiobooks for fiction.
Okay.
And like real books for nonfiction. Because I like to make a lot of notes and stuff. Just nothing pop psychology, please.
Honestly, I think you would love. Well, I guess maybe it ruins the show for you, but I think you'd love Tokyo Vice.
Okay. No, I mean, I think that's okay.
I read Tokyo Vice, and I thought it was great. But I know the show doesn't go as deep in it.
Yeah, so I tend to like. I tend to like, you know, when there's like a book and a show, I tend to enjoy the book more than the show. There's a handful of shows that I think are the exception to that rule. So I think Shogun is a very good adaptation of the book. I think Lord of the Rings movies are very good adaptations. I think the Harry Potter movies are pretty good. I think Song of Ice and Fire is pretty good.
I've only seen all the shows of the things you're listing.
Yeah.
But do you find it additive? Like if you watch a show, do you like reading the book to be like, oh my God?
I like reading the book first and then watching the show because there's a lot of context. The one thing that I don't like about watching shows is that what I really hate is something that my brother taught me. When you read a book without watching a show, you have a mental picture of what the character looks like. That picture gets annihilated once you watch the show. It gets replaced by the actor. So it's interesting because in Shogun and Count of Monte Cristo, these are a couple of exceptions because I read them for so many years that my image of the person got crystallized. So that's the only thing I don't like.
It was frustrating to watch and it not be that person in your head.
It's like I lost that person because oftentimes the actors are not actually accurate portrayals of, even if they do a great job of acting, they don't actually like, because in books, not everyone is attractive, but in shows, like everyone is attractive.
Right. So if you reread Shogun, would you now think of the actor?
Shogun is one of the exceptions because I read it for so many years before I watched the show. So I probably read Shogun for the first time when I was like a teenager.
Okay.
So like 25 years ago.
It's from the 70s, right?
I don't know when it's from, but I mean, Clavel was in a POW camp in World War II, which was interesting because he actually like fell in love with Japanese culture, even though he was in like a Japanese POW camp.
Oh, he was that's where he learned about it? Is in a prisoner of war camp?
Yeah, I think
that's where he learned about it. That's crazy.
It's crazy.
That's crazy.
So it's you know, I don't know exactly how to make sense of that, but it's fascinating. But yeah.
All right, I will read Count of Monte Cristo.
And I will read Tokyo Vice.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks a lot, man.
Austin. Thank you, Dr. K.
Take care.
Take care as well.
And anything you've got going on that you want to let people know about that we can kind of tune into, projects coming up, anything? Okay.
No.
Are you gonna? Is your Japan trip gonna have like social posting and stuff, or is it like more private?
I won't be live. No part of it will be live, but I will record it. And then maybe make. I don't know if you know Hugh McGregor. He did a trip with motorcycles with his best friend called The Long Way Down. It was a documentary series. He went from like UK to South Africa. Then he went from UK around across Europe, Russia, and then took a little ferry across the US. And so that I watched that growing up, and I was like, oh man, I'd love to do that across Japan. So
That
really the
cool,
goal
man.
is to do that, make some documentary from it, but just mostly ride.
That sounds great, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Good luck with that. Stay safe and enjoy yourself. They have great bakeries in Japan.
They do. Maybe I'll take a little note along the way
Yeah.
for my 1,000-day bakery. You think the 1,000-day idea is good?
Seems like a lot of work for 1,000 days. Actually, I
Like
guess
getting
1,000 days is almost 3 years. So I
Yeah.
take that back. So yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Call Majora's Mask Bakery, have a giant moon above it.
That sounds good.
Get sued halfway through. I'll work on it.
All right, man. Take care.
All right, babe.
Great
Appreciate
talking to you, buddy. Bye.
Bye.
Okay. That was a blast. Guys, that was great. Okay. So, we're done for today. I think just a quick kind of heads up. I think we've got I think we're scheduled to stream tomorrow and Friday, so stay tuned to our socials for that. Huge shout out to 988 for sponsoring today's stream. Just a reminder for those of you all that aren't aware, 988 is actually a new program, or I don't know if it's new, but it's a program to help y'all connect to crisis counseling 24 hours a day, 7 days a week if you're in the United States or the 5 territories. So they can, it's confidential, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's free. They can also connect you with resources. So definitely check that out if y'all or a friend of yours is struggling with their mental health. Thank y'all very much for coming today. I really enjoyed talking to Ludwig. Hopefully y'all learned something. I know a lot of our approach is kind of like contradictory, but I don't think it's really like that. I think it's like once you really understand the principles at play, like it actually jives pretty well. And I'll be the first to say that I've been an idiot for vast swaths of my life. And there's a very good chance that, a year from now, I'll wake up and I'll think, oh my God, all this stuff in the way that I've been living my life was wrong, because I've done that before. I've lived my life in catastrophically negative and incorrect ways. Wow, this hair is really getting out of control. And that's just what life is, right? So like you're gonna make mistakes, and I'm 41. I'm not done, right? It's not like I've learned everything or all the answers. Like I'm sure that there's a ton of stuff that I have left to learn. But the main thing is like you can't be paralyzed today just because you could be making a mistake, right? You've got to live the best that you can today, and then recognize that I'm probably making some mistakes, that some degree of mistakes are unavoidable, and like try to live your day. I really like this Majora's Mask analogy of like 3-day segments. And instead of living for tomorrow or some magical retirement later in life or something like that, live in like 3-day segments where like a 3-day segment is like a complete package of progress, of growth, of independence, of enjoyment, of pleasure, of relaxation. Like, I really like this 3-day segment, this 72-hour kind of construction. So give that a shot, report back, and thank you all very much for coming today. Thank you to Ludwig for coming on and having, as always, a stimulating conversation. And we'll see y'all tomorrow. Take care, everybody.